Chapter 321 Ready to Siege. How are your preparations, Dongshenyao? Lord Hokage, I'm all ready and ready to go. It's still early, I'll tell you something about the front line in detail. Sarutobi Hiruzen immediately told the situation on the front line. Now there are 2 cage-level masters in Sunagakure village, one is Kage from Sunagakure village, and the other is the former commander of Sunagakure village, and there are 10 quasi-shadows in Sunagakure village. As for our Konoha, now there are 3 cage-level masters on the battlefield and 5 quasi-shadows. Quote, the strength of cage level is not weaker than that of Sunagakure village, but the number of quasi-shadows is a bit small. Even if there is a combination of Ino Shikacho, it can't close the gap in the number of people. Sarutobi Hiruzen sighed. Dongshenyao did not speak, but fell into contemplation. I didn't expect the situation on the front line to be like this, Hokage-sama. Even if I go with Tashinyao, I won't be able to defeat Sunagakure village. I know, so your mission this time is to hold steady and prevent Sunagakure village from breaking through the fortress. After I finish everything in the village, I will also go to the front line. 917 is not difficult if it's just blocking Sunagakure. Listening to the conversation between the two, Dongshenyao's face was expressionless, but his heart was thinking about how to defeat Sunagakure village. If it weren't for the breakthrough this time, Tashinyao would have been just like Yoshikawa Jiro, who only wanted to temporarily block the attack of Sunagakure village. But it is different now. Dongshenyao has broken through and his strength has grown, so he will no longer be satisfied with just blocking the attack of Sunagakure village, he wants to defeat Sunagakure. However, even if Dongshenyao's strength has grown, it is still difficult to defeat Sunagakure village, so he needs to plan carefully. Half an hour later, the 3 walked out of the Hokage building. At this time, thousands of ninjas had gathered outside the Hokage building. Most of these people came back from the front line with Dongshenyao and the others before. After a few days of rest, they will go to the battlefield again. Sarutobi Hiruzen didn't want to do this either, but there was nothing he could do, and there weren't many ninjas that Konoha village could call. Everyone, Iwagakure village has been defeated by us. I believe Sunagakure village can't stop our Konoha village, come on. Come on. As soon as Sarutobi Hiruzen finished speaking, everyone suddenly shouted. Because they had just defeated Iwagakure village, these people were in high spirits. Although Sunagakure village was not weak, they were all fearless. After a few more simple words, Sarutobi Hiruzen handed over the matter to Tashinyao and the 2 of them, while he stood aside. Yoshikawa Jiro didn't say much, but simply divided the team into 10 teams, and the group set off directly. Because they were in a hurry to get to the fortress to support the front line, everyone was very fast, but it took more than a day to reach the fortress. At this time, the time has come to the next morning, and a group of thousands of people came to the outside of the fortress. Because the Konoha ninja in the fortress had already received the news early, so at this time Miyamura Harmony was waiting for Dongshenyao and them outside the fortress. Welcome to Yoshikawa-kun, Tashinyao, and we meet again. Miyamura Harmony greeted the 2 with some excitement. Miyamura-kun, you are getting old. Yoshikawa Jiro sighed. Seeing Miyamura Harmony again, Dongshenyao almost didn't recognize him. At this time, Miyamura Harmony's face was full of wrinkles, and he looked no different from a 60-year-old person, and his hair had turned white, showing how much pressure he was under during this time. Miyamura-senpai, thank you for your hard work. It's not hard work, the real hard work is other people. Miyamura Harmony shook his head and sighed. Okay, everyone, let's go in. Miyamura Harmony didn't continue to say more on this topic, and quickly greeted everyone to enter the fortress. After arranging the others, Dongshenyao and the 2 followed Miyamura Harmony to the fortress's council room. At this time, the strong men in the fortress are all here. After the 2 sides greeted each other, they sat together. First of all, we welcome Yoshikawa Jiro and Tashinyao to support us. Crack, slap, slap. Miyamura took the lead in applauding after he said in a harmonious voice. Okay, don't fix this, Miyamura-kun has already told us about your situation, Lord Hokage, so let's discuss how to deal with the Sunagakure village's attack next. Yoshikawa Jiro waved his hand. What else can be done? Of course it's a counterattack. Shimura Danzo said with full of fighting intent. Counterattack. How to counterattack? Even if reinforcements come, our current strength is at most equal to that of Sunagakure village. Nara, the chief of the Nara family, retorted for a long time. Shimura Danzo didn't speak anymore, obviously reacting to. Gentlemen, we're not actually out of hope of winning. Huh, everyone was stunned when they heard that, but when they saw that it was Dong Shenyao who was speaking, they all came to their senses. East Shenyao, what good ideas do you have this time? Miyamura Harmony asked impatiently. In his opinion, Dong Shenyao is his noble person. Every time he sees Dong Shenyao, there will be good things. Just like the last time he was able to kill the Jinchuriki column force of the Sunagakure village, isn't it Dong Shenyao's idea? Seeing that everyone was looking at him, Dong Shenyao sorted out his thoughts and told the plan he had thought along the way. The only thing that can threaten us in Sunagakure village is Kazekage, so we just need to kill Kazekage. Then it is not difficult to defeat Sunagakure village. Quote. Isn't this nonsense? I know this, but Kazekage is so strong, how can it be so easy to kill? Quenying said impatiently. Okay, don't interrupt Dong Shenyao. I believe that since he said so, he naturally has a plan. Miyamura Harmony scolded directly. Yes, I do have a plan to kill Kazekage. Ta Shenyao admitted directly and generously. East Shenyao, come and listen. Nara asked with a look of anticipation. Dong Shenyao didn't give in. After taking a deep breath, he explained the plan in detail. Even if Sunagakure village knows that we have reinforcements, it should not know who the reinforcements are, so we can use this to make a fuss. An ambush. Ambush. How? Nara asked after a long time. It's very simple. Yoshikawa-senpai and I can find a place to hide in advance, and then after the battle starts, you can find a way to lead Kazekage there, and then we will surround him. Murderous look. Tsunade's father died at the hands of Sunagakure, and he naturally wanted revenge. After all, Senju can be regarded as his future father-in-law. Thanks to Open Black Lens Bracket ZZP Close Black Lens Bracket for the monthly ticket support. Chapter 322 Plan to Start. After listening to Dong Shenyao's plan, everyone's eyes lit up, but soon Nara frowned. East Shenyao, Kazekage is very strong. If he finds the ambush and wants to leave, it will be difficult for us to stop him. Hearing Nara's question, Miyamura Harmony and others all stared at Dong Shenyao closely, hoping that he could come up with a plan to avoid this from happening. Actually, you don't have to worry about this, because since you are going to ambush, you naturally need to prepare in advance. I have already thought about it. I will make arrangements at the ambush site in advance, and I will definitely not let Kazekage escape. Dong Shenyao he patted his chest and assured. The other Dong Shenyao dared not speak, but when it comes to being trapped, Dong Shenyao thinks that he definitely surpasses most cage-level masters. Everyone did not speak this time, but fell into contemplation. After a long while, it was Miyamura Harmony who spoke first. I believe Dong Shenyao's words, and even if this plan is unsuccessful, we will have nothing to lose. I agree too, Nara echoed for a long time. After that, Jiro Yoshikawa and others also expressed their opinions one after another. Most of them agreed, not because they thought the plan could be successful, but as Miyamura Harmony said, even if the plan failed, there would be no loss. Although some people disagreed, but the minority obeyed the majority, and finally Miyamura Harmony made the final decision. Since most people agree, then implement it according to Dong Shenyao's plan. The general plan has been drawn up, and then everyone began to discuss specific things, such as where to ambush, what method to use to lure Kazekage, and so on. That night, Ta Shenyao and Yoshikawa Jiro left the fortress overnight, and most people in the fortress did not know the news of their departure. One day passed in a blink of an eye, and the next day, Sunagakure village launched an attack. Early in the morning, Kazekage led the ninjas of Sunagakure village to the outside of the fortress. Thousands of Sunagaku stood in a neat line several hundred meters away from the fortress, and a group of strong Sunagaku villagers stood at the forefront. Harmony Miyamura, I'm bound to step down the fortress today. Kazukage's voice was loud and spread throughout the battlefield in an instant. Tap down the fortress. Tap down the fortress. The people of Sunagaku village shouted in unison, their voices soaring into the sky. Kazukage, I'm here waiting for you. If you can't level the fort today, you'll be a tortoise bastard. Miyamura counterattacked in harmony. Damn, Miyamura Harmony, I must kill you today. Kazukage was furious, and then went straight to the fortress to kill. Seeing this, the experts from Sunagaku village quickly followed. Go. Miyamura Harmony wanted was to anger Kazukage. Seeing that the plan was successful at this time, he naturally wouldn't be a tortoise. He ran down from the fortress before Kazukage approached. But instead of running towards Kazukage, he rushed out of the battlefield. Don't run if Miyamura Harmony has the ability. The place here in Kazukage is too small to use, come with me if you have the ability. Jukin provocatively said in a harmonious voice. Come here, whoever is afraid. Kazukage showed no weakness. At the same time, other powerhouses on both sides followed suit. Soon the two sides met several miles away from the battlefield, but Miyamura Harmony still did not stop, but continued to run forward with another cage-level Master Kenichi, and Kazukage did not stop when he saw this. The other hand, the other experts in Konoha village directly stopped the others in Sunagaku village. Battle. Another cage-level master from Konoha village directly stopped the guards, and at the same time the quasi-shadows of the two sides also fought in one place. Strange, how did they run so far today? Is there an ambush? Although Kazukage was angry at this time, he was able to become a shadow of a village. In addition to his strength, he was not stupid. At this time, he noticed a hint of conspiracy. Hey, I don't care what ambush you have, everything is futile in the face of absolute strength. Kazukage is also a bold artist, and is very confident in his own strength, so he clearly noticed some problems, but he didn't stop. Seeing that Kazukage had been following them, Miyamura Harmony was also relieved. This Kazukage is really big, but that's fine, we don't have to use other plans. Soon Shuang came to a basin, and in the middle of the basin, Miyamura Harmony and the two stopped. Run, you should keep running. Kazukage stopped dozens of meters away from the two and shouted at them very arrogantly. Run, why should we run? Miyamura Harmony said disdainfully. Stop talking nonsense, call everyone out, I know you must have made arrangements here. While speaking, Kazukage looked around, trying to take pictures of the people in ambush. You know, Miyamura Harmony was a little surprised. Of course, how can I not see what you are doing so obviously? Do you think I am as stupid as you? By Kazukage makes Harmony Miyamura look like Yuhi, which is angry. Kazukage, today is your day of death. As Miyamura shouted in harmony, 4 people suddenly appeared on the ground around them. These 4 people looked exactly the same, and they were Dong Shenyao. Doden, Earth Style, Land is Coming. Shadow clones of Dong Shenyao were also welcome. As soon as they appeared, they pressed their hands on the ground, and then saw that the entire basin collapsed in an instant, and at the same time, the ground around the edge of the basin began to rise continuously. Because the ground under their feet cracked in an instant, the bodies of the 3 people who were not prepared at all fell directly. Not only Kazukage, but also Miyamura Harmony, who had known something in advance, did not respond for a while. The 3 of them fell for dozens of meters before they landed on the ground. Because they were all cage-level experts, they were not injured. As for Dong Shenyao's 4 shadow clones, they were suspended in midair. The changes around it did not end. The stone walls around the basin finally closed together in the air, turning this place into a huge closed space. Of course, in order to take care of Miyamura Harmony and the others, Dong Shenyao cut a few small holes in the surrounding stone walls to allow the light from outside to shine in. Kazukage's face was gloomy and terrible at this time. He didn't expect that Konoha would make such a huge trap. The reason why everything happened so quickly was because Dong Shenyao had already hollowed out the ground below this basin last night, and there was actually only a thin layer of land on it. There is no place to bear the force under the feet, unless you can fly, or even a cage-level master will fall. At this time, there were a total of 5 people in this closed space. In addition to the 3 Miyamura Harmony later, there were also Tashinyao and Yoshikawa Jiro. Chapter 323 Battle Cage. After making the trap, Tashinyao and Yoshikawa Jiro stayed underground until Tashinyao found out that the 3 of Miyamura Harmony had arrived, and then let Shadow Clone go up. Cage, you can't fly today, Miyamura Harmony said with murderous intent. At this time, Cage was expressionless, but there was a trace of worry in his heart. Now he regrets it a little. If he was given another chance, he would never follow Miyamura Harmony, but unfortunately it was too late. Shaking his head, he put his worries behind him. I don't believe it anymore, you alone can kill me. At this moment he became that confident Cage again. The 4 of Dong Shenyao surrounded Cage in the middle, and the 2 sides faced each other. Go. After a few minutes, Sheni couldn't help it anymore. After saying hello, he raised his hand and shot more than 10 shuriken directly. Dang dang dang. A chorus of golden iron sounded, and all the shurikens were blocked by Cage's use of kunai, but these shurikens by Kenichi also opened the prelude to the battle. Kaden Fire Style, Phoenix Sage Fire Technique. Miyamura Harmony Hand Seal opened his mouth and spat out fireballs one after another, heading straight for Cage. Raiden Thunder Style, Ground Walk. Yoshikawa Jiro hand sealed, he pressed his hands on the ground, and suddenly a flash of lightning flashed straight to Cage's feet. Doden Earth Style, House of Flying Daggers. Whoosh whoosh. Tashinya doesn't need the hand seal, so his skills attack first. I saw a large number of soil thorns rising from the ground under Cage's feet, and in an instant, there were soil thorns within dozens of meters around him. The reason why the area was so small was that Dong Shenyao was afraid of affecting other people. Futon Wind Style, 1,000 Faces of Wind. Quote. A large number of wind blades surrounded Cage, directly smashing the soil thorns that were closer to him, but at this time, the lightning and fireballs under his feet had already arrived. Cage jumped up to avoid the lightning under his feet, but because he was in the air, he couldn't change direction and was directly hit by 2 fireballs. Bang! Smoke rises, and then Cage turns into a piece of wood. It's a substitute technique. Dong Shenyao and the others hurriedly searched for Cage. Crack! Hearing a soft sound, the ground under Dong Shenyao's feet cracked, and a hand stretched out. Seeing this, Dong Shenyao did not dodge, but a wicked smile appeared on the corner of his mouth. PFF'd. In an instant, Dong Shenyao turned into a hedgehog. At this time, his entire body had been elementalized and turned into a rock. At the same time, a large number of soil thorns emerged from his body. Originally, the reason why Cage took the lead in attacking Dong Shenyao was because seeing him young, he thought he should be the weakest, and he chose Dong Shenyao because of Persimmon's softness. It's just that he didn't expect that although the person he picked was not the strongest, he was definitely the toughest among the 4. Although Cage had already chosen to dodge in the first place, he was still a step behind and his arm was stabbed. Seeing Cage dodged, Dong Shenyao returned to normal. Who the hell are you? Cage asked Dong Shenyao warily. Earthman. What? Cage didn't get it. Earth. What it is. And just when Cage was so stunned, Miyamura Harmony and others attacked again. This time, the 3 did not choose to use ninjutsu attacks, but approached Cage directly and launched a taijutsu attack. Dang dang dang. The 4 of them fought together, and the sparks shone in the dark space. Seeing the 3 entangled Cage, Dong Shenyao began to think about how to kill Cage as soon as possible. I have to say that Cage's strength is very strong, and it is worthy of being the peak of Cage level. Even if it is 1 against 3, it is not afraid. Although it is slightly inferior, it is not life-threatening. Tashinyao, come and help. Seeing Tashinyao still standing there, Yoshikawajiro hurriedly greeted him. Got it. After a reply, Dongshenyao's eyes narrowed. The 8 inner gates, the 6th gate, the view gate is open. Boom. A powerful aura emanated from Dongshenyao's body, green arrogance surrounded his body, and blue chakra emanated even more. With long hair scattered behind him, Tashinyao looked like a Super Saiyan at this moment. Boom. The ground exploded, and Dongshenyao's body instantly disappeared in place. Bang. K's cage is worthy of being a cage-level master. Even though Dongshenyao's speed had reached a limit, he still blocked it, but the punch was so powerful that it directly knocked K's cage out. Come again. Bang. There was a blast in the air, and Dongshenyao's body disappeared again. Bang, bang, bang. Dongshenyao punched K's cage with a punch, and K's cage's speed was not slow, and he even directly attacked Dongshenyao. This Tashinyao's strength has actually increased again. Seeing that Tashinyao's physical skills were almost unbeaten with K's cage, Yoshikawajiro was a little surprised, because in his previous impression, he was talking about the physical skills of Tashin. Yao can't reach this point. The reason why Dongshenyao's physical skills have improved so quickly is naturally due to the breakthrough of the Yi Jin Jing, which has made his physical skills somewhat improved. More importantly, the quality of his internal strength has improved, and the blessings to his body are also stronger. Okay, let's stop watching, let's go, and make a quick decision. Miyamura greeted him harmoniously, and shot again. This time, the 4 of them fought against K's cage. Even if they were as powerful as the second-generation K's cage, they couldn't stop him. After all, he was facing 4 people with cage-level strength. Bang! K's cage was accidentally punched in the shoulder by Dongshenyao, his body staggered, and his flaws were suddenly revealed. Bang! Sheni took the opportunity to put a foot on K's cage's ass, and directly kicked K's cage to eat shit. It's now. Yoshikawajiro raised his hand and threw a few kunai 5.5 directly to K's cage. K's cage was very fast, and he didn't get up when he fell to the ground. He tumbled to avoid kunai, but these sufferings were nothing but simple, and they all had a detonating talisman behind them. As soon as the 4 of Dongshenyao stepped back, the detonating talisman exploded. Boom, boom, boom. Smoke covered K's cage's body, but it couldn't stop Tashinyao's thread. Finger piercing. Dongshenyao raised his hand, stone bullets shot out, directly blocking K's cage who was about to escape. Damn, how did he find me? K's cage was depressed at this time. He didn't think that he was blocked by the smoke, and that someone could find him. 10 dragons. Under the control of Dongshenyao, 10 stone dragons appeared and went straight to K's cage to bombard them. Thank you, I am God, for the monthly ticket support. Chapter 324 K's cage erupts. Seeing that Dongshenyao had taken action, the others, regardless of what was going on with K's cage, launched attacks one by one towards the place shrouded in smoke. Kaden, Fire Style, Dragon Fire Bullet. Raiden, Thunder Style, False Darkness. Kaden, Fire Style, Fierce Dragon Flame Jutsu. Boom. The 10 rock giant dragons were the first to bombard the smoke, but at this time, a gust of wind broke out in the smoke, which was mixed with countless wind blades, and all 10 rock giant dragons were immediately shattered, followed by flames and lightning. Also bombarded into the smoke. The sound of explosions sounded one after another, the wind was strong, and the air waves spread around, and a large number of rubble splashed out, making Dongshenyao and the others had to retreat. Whoosh! Suddenly a figure flew out of the smoke and ran straight to the stone wall. Not good. K's cage is going to escape. Miyamura Harmony suddenly exclaimed after seeing K's cage's actions. Don't worry, he won't be able to run away. He is still very confident in the space he made. Even with K's cage's strength, he can't easily break the stone wall. Futon, Wind Style, Vacuum Bomb. The process of running 15. K's cage quickly hand seal with both hands, but the ninjutsu has been completed in 1 second, and then opened his mouth, and a huge compressed air ball spewed out, Boom! The wind ball hit the stone wall, and the stone wall swayed for a while, and then a large number of stones fell, but Cage was not happy, because the stone wall was not broken, but just bombarded a large pit several meters deep, and at this time, the big pit is recovering at a speed visible to the naked eye. Damn, what's going on? Cage couldn't help cursing. Whoosh! Dong Shenyao's body quickly crossed a distance of hundreds of meters and came to Cage's side. Dong Shenyao even brought a gust of wind because of the speed. Gravity field. What? Cage was startled. He felt his body become heavy, and he felt a strong pressure from the inside out. Bang! Taking advantage of Cage's ability to adapt to the field of gravity, Dong Shenyao punched Cage's strong mouth, and the huge force directly knocked Cage out. Finger piercing. Whoosh whoosh. At this time, Cage's body was still in the air, and he could only use kunai to resist the fast-blowing wind bullet. Dang dang dang. Futon, wind style, vacuum sphere. At this time, Yoshikawa Jiro's attack came, and this time Cage could no longer dodge. He was directly hit by a wind bullet on the shoulder, and was immediately pierced, and blood flowed out. Am I really going to die here today? Cage felt sadness in his heart after falling to the ground. As Cage, he has already stood at the pinnacle of power in the ninja world. At the same time, his strength is also among the best, and he has not lived enough. The battle continued, but Cage was not an opponent of the four in the first place, and now that he was injured again, the situation was precarious for a while, and the wounds on his body became more and more. Seeing that Cage was about to die, Dong Shenyao became more serious, because just before the battle, he received a task from the system, which was to kill Cage with his own hands. Died in his hands. There are still 3 Cage-level masters at the moment. If you want to grab the head, Dong Shenyao naturally has to concentrate on it. Lord of the Earth. Boom. A rock giant rose from the ground and punched Cage. Bang. Taking advantage of Cage's flaws in order to avoid the attack of the rock giant, the kunai thorn in Yoshikawa Jiro's hand stabbed Cage's back. Get out of here. Of rage, Cage kicked Yoshikawa Jiro directly. You forced me to solve it. Cage suddenly shouted, and then a hand seal with both hands. The next moment, a violent breath emanated from his body. This. At this time, Dong Shenyao and the others felt a familiar chakra aura from Cage. After looking at each other, they all saw a hint of shock in each other's eyes. A large amount of sand poured out of Cage's body, and it didn't take long for the sand to cover his body. At this moment, Cage turned into a shukaku, but the size was slightly different from the real shukaku, and the height was only about 10 meters. What's going on? Several people were stunned, because Jinchuriki column force had already been killed by them, and Shukaku was also dead. This can't be a human Jinchuriki column force. Shukaku is already dead, and it is impossible to resurrect in a short time. Could it be that he sealed Shukaku's chakra in his body before? A possibility. Although it is not a human Jinchuriki column force, after using Shukaku's chakra at this time, Cage's strength has undoubtedly improved a little, at least his defense is much stronger than before. Bang! The rock giant punched Shukaku, and a large amount of sand fell from Shukaku, but Cage was fine. Everyone be careful, we don't want to fight with him now. This Shukaku's chakra definitely can't exist forever, and when the Shukaku's chakra is exhausted, Cage will die. Dong Shenyao reminded. Boom. Soon Xiao Shukaku recovered, and then a large amount of sand and gravel appeared on the surrounding ground. These sand turned into sharp arrows and shot straight at Dong Shenyao and others. Dong Shenyao 890 dodged the attack while controlling the rock giant to attack the little Shukaku. Bang! 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 The rock giant is huge and about the same size as the small Shukaku. At the beginning of the battle, the two were evenly matched, but soon the small Shukaku blew up half of the rock giant's body with an empty bomb, and then a large amount of sand drowned the rock giant. At this moment, the sharp arrow formed by the sand disappeared, and the 4 Dong Shenyao also freed their hands. Quick attack. After shouting, Miyamura Harmony quickly hand seal with both hands. Kaden, fire style, Vulcan. Woo. The flames spewed out and turned into a long spear that shot straight at little Shukaku. Futon, wind style, crushing. Kaden, fire style, dragon fire bullet. Meteorites fall. Boom. The skills of the 4 people bombarded Xiao Shukaku one after another. A violent explosion sounded, and billowing smoke filled the confined space. Sandstorm burial. Boom. A large amount of quicksand spread out from Shukaku, and went straight to Dong Shenyao, and the 4 of them swept over. The quicksand was like a wave, continuous, one wave higher than another, as if it would drown the 4 of them. In the smoke, the 4 of them couldn't care about the others, and they used various abilities to deal with the quicksand that was constantly impacting. Chapter 325 Makeup. At this time, the entire confined space was full of sand and dust. Of course, there were exceptions. That was Dong Shenyao. There was no sand or dust within a jong of his body. All sand and dust would automatically go around him when they approached him. Sand and dust also belong to the earth element. After all, what Shukaku uses is not iron sand, so these sand and dust can't hurt Dong Shenyao at all. Even if it wasn't for the huge difference in strength between the two, Dong Shenyao could be blocked by one person alone. Little Shukaku's attack took off, and even used these dust to counter little Shukaku. But unfortunately, what Dong Shenyao can do now is to protect himself. Although Kazekage is not a real human Jinchuriki column force, but because his own strength is about to surpass the previous one-tailed Jinchuriki column force, Kazekage is even stronger after using Shukaku's chakra at this time. On the strength of the real one-tailed Jinchuriki column, it is extremely close to cage level completion. Sure enough, none of these cage level masters are simple, they all have killer skills. If you don't use Shukaku chakra, Kazecage's strength is not even comparable to Tsuchikage, but once you use it, his strength will surpass Tsuchikage and Mizukage. Damn yes, I hope he can't break the stone wall I set up. Dong Shenyao prayed secretly in his heart at this time. Although the number of chakras in the tailed beast is very large, far exceeding that of ordinary cage-level powerhouses, it cannot withstand such profligacy, and the number of Shukaku chakras in Kazekage is not particularly large, so it didn't take long for the sand and dust to have the trend was quelled, but at this time through Byakugan, Tashinyao found that Kazekage took this opportunity to attack. To the surprise of Dong Shenyao, Kazekage did not attack the stone wall, that is to say, he did not plan to escape, but took the initiative to attack. At this time, the entire confined space was filled with sand, and even Kazecage's own sight was blocked. He could only know the positions of the 4 Dong Shenyao, but he could not accurately determine who was in each position, so he could only found one at random. In the sandstorm, other people's actions were hindered. On the other hand, Kazekage was helped by God, and the speed became faster, but he was close to Kenichi in a short time. Sheni, be careful, Kazekage is approaching you, Dong Shenyao reminded quickly. Although the surrounding environment affected the transmission of the sound, Sheni heard it because Dong Shenyao's voice was loud. As for the other two, they didn't hear it because they were far away. Although Kenichi couldn't find out where Kazekage was, he chose to listen to Dong Shenyao. Raiden, thunder style, ground walk. A large amount of lightning power was released from Shani's hands, and instantly the ground within dozens of meters around him was covered with lightning. Roar. Under the attack of thunder and lightning, Xiao Shukaku couldn't help roaring. Although the thunder and lightning hurt him a little, he was able to hold it with his strong defense. Futon, wind style, practice the empty bomb. The huge wind cannon shot out and flew over a distance of dozens of meters in an instant. Boom. The explosion sounded, and Xian Yi's figure was directly drowned. But at this time, the small Shukaku's attack did not stop there. Futon, wind style, practice the empty bomb. Futon, wind style, practice the empty bomb. It was another 2 consecutive wind bombs, setting off a wave of air. Relying on Byakugan, Dong Shenyao saw that although Sheni avoided the first drill, the second one did not dodge and was directly hit. As for the third one, it also affected Sheni. In the end, Sheni became bloody and dead. Damn. Dong Shenyao didn't expect that they would be 4-on-1, and this would happen in the end, which made him feel a sense of frustration. At this time, the wind and sand gradually subsided, and Yoshikawa Jiro and the two broke through the obstacle of the wind and sand. After seeing Xiao Shukaku, the two attacked without saying a word. Because Xiao Shukaku was attacking Kenichi, they could not dodge and could only manipulate the surrounding sand to resist. Attack of the two. Boom. After the explosion, the attacks of Jiro Yoshikawa and the two disappeared, but Xiao Shukaku's body also shrank in a circle. At this moment, a long spear condensed from rocks shot from a distance. Godkiller. This is a ninjutsu developed by Dong Shenyao temporarily. It is very simple. It uses a solid rock to condense a long spear, but when it shoots out, it uses repulsion to speed up the speed of the long spear. Originally, when Dong Shenyao opened the 8 inner gates, he had a lot of strength. With the repulsion, the speed of the long spear was extremely fast, so Cage had no time to defend or evade. This rock is long. The spear is more than 10 meters long and has a thick thigh. If it hits someone, even a cage-level expert will be seriously injured. Bang! The long gun directly bombarded Xiao Shukaku's body. In an instant, most of Xiao Shukaku's body was smashed to pieces, and Cage's body was exposed, but at this time Cage's situation did not look good, and the whole person became a bloody man, covered in blood. Whoosh! Miyamura Harmony and the two approached Xiao Shukaku. Seeing that Xiao Shukaku was smashed by Dong Shenyao, the two attacked again. Kaden, Fire Style, Vulcan. Futon, Wind Style, Vacuum Bomb. Facing the attack of the two, Cage repaired the little Shukaku while manipulating the sand to resist. Boom! Because it was rushed to meet the enemy, Cage's defense was directly broken, and then the two attacks hit Shukaku one after another. No, Cage, don't die. Dong Shenyao's face changed greatly. Although Cage was an enemy, he was now worried about Cage's safety because he still had a mission. Tashinyao quickly accelerated and ran towards Cage. Little Shukaku's broken body was directly shattered, and then the remaining power bombarded Cage. When Dong Shenyao found Cage, he was dying, and even if no one attacked him, he would not live long. But of course Dong Shenyao would not let him fend for himself. The shadow-chopping saber appeared in Dong Shenyao's hand, the blade fell, blood splattered out, and Cage's head was directly chopped off. Phew, it's finally done. Hearing the sound of the system prompt in his mind, Dong Shenyao let out a long sigh of relief, and then he also closed the 8 inner gates. Generation Cage, a master of cage-level peak, just died in the hands of Dong Shenyao. This is also the first Ni cage-level master who died in his hands. It also happened that he was killed by Dong Shenyao for the first time. The dead cage-level master was also from Sunagakur village, and it was the one-tailed Jinchuriki column force. When Yoshikawa Jiro and the two arrived, they only saw Cage's body. Ha ha ha, dead, he is finally dead. Miyamura Harmony laughed loudly, venting the anguish in his heart. Let's go and see Kenichi's situation. I don't know how he is now. Yoshikawa Jiro reminded. Okay, let's go. After being happy, the three hurriedly walked to Shani's side. Thank you, Dao Jie. Chapter 326 Another defeat to Sunagakur. When the three of Dong Shenyao saw Sheni again, he was silent. Looking at Shani's obviously much older appearance, Dong Shenyao couldn't help but recall the scene when he first met him. At that time, Sheni was an aloof existence in Dong Shenyao's eyes, full of power, but now, it has become a corpse, and Dong Shenyao has grown to this height. Hey, I didn't expect such a result. Cage is worthy of being the shadow of a village. When he was dying, he pulled a pad on his back. The battle is not over yet. Now is not the time to talk about this. Let's put Shani's body away first. Dong Shenyao reminded. That's right, we can't rest yet. Coming back to his senses, Miyamura Harmony and the two acted quickly. Each took out a scroll and sealed all the bodies of Kenichi and Case-Cage. Of course, Case-Cage's head was not sealed together, but was directly carried by Miyamura Harmony. East Shenyao will trouble you next time. At this time, the three of them were still in a confined space. If Dong Shenyao didn't open it, it would be difficult for them to get out. Leave it to me. Dong Shenyao didn't talk nonsense, and pressed his hands directly on the ground. Suddenly, the stone wall in the sky slowly cracked, and then 607 submerged into the ground again. Let's go. The blockade of the sky disappeared, and Yoshikawa Jiro and the two rushed directly to the outside of the basin. Let me help you, said. Dong Shenyao directly controlled the repulsion, and the three of them flew up. It's so convenient, Yoshikawa Jiro said happily after flying into the air. For human beings, there is no one who does not yearn to fly. Yeah, it's the first time I found out that flying is so good. Miyamura Harmony echoed. The speed of flying is faster than running, so it didn't take long for the three of them to return to the battlefield where the two powerhouses were fighting. At this time, everyone was fighting together, but overall, the village of Konoha was at a disadvantage, even if one of them was a cage level. The same goes for the masters. Although the cage level masters are stronger than the quasi-shadows, if the number of quasi-shadows is large, they can still beat the cage levels. Although the two sides were fighting, they still found the three of them flying over. What's going on? The Sunagaker saw that Miyamura Harmony had returned, but their shadows were missing, and they were suddenly worried. Other hand, the ninjas in Konoha village knew their plans in advance, so when they saw Dong Shenyao and the three coming back, they were immediately excited, because it showed that their plan was a success, but most of them were so excited that they forgot for a while. The missing Kenichi. Kill. After coming to the battlefield, Yoshikawa Jiro shouted and joined the battle directly. Ha ha ha, Sunagaker village brats, your Case-Cage has been killed by us, today is your doom. Miyamura laughed in harmony, raising Case-Cage's head in his hand. What? That's really the head of Lord Case-Cage, how could that be? It's fake, it's all fake, it can't be Lord Case-Cage, this is all a conspiracy of Konoha village, Lord Case-Cage must be fine, he's just trapped, don't worry everyone. Sunagaker directly exploded, some believe it, some don't, but it doesn't matter, because whether they believe it or not, their mentality has been affected. Dong Shenyao did not speak, but joined the battle with the shadow-chopping saber in his hand. With the addition of 3 cage-level masters, the situation was suddenly reversed. Both Yoshikawa Jiro and Miyamura Harmony were genuine cage-level existences, while Tashinyao's level was only elite Jonin, but in terms of strength no weaker than the early cage-level strong. Under such circumstances, the strong men of Sunagaker village were suddenly at a disadvantage. Quick fight! Miyamura Harmony shouted quickly because he was worried about the situation at the fortress. Go to hell! Dong Shenyao shouted, and directly killed a Sunagaker who had been controlled by Nara for a long time, and the Zanying Dao cut off his head very well. Seeing that Dong Shenyao had already killed a Zunying, the others were not to be outdone, especially the strongest Miyamura Harmony, who also cooperated with others to kill a Zunying. Damn, let's die together. A Sunagaker village Junkage couldn't take it anymore, hugged a Konoha ninja directly, and then detonated the detonating charm on his body. Boom! At such a close distance, coupled with the large number of detonating charms, the two quasi-shadows perished directly together, and their bodies were blown up. Damn it! Retreat! Seeing this situation, the future 3 generations of Case-Cage guards could only choose to retreat. No matter whether Case-Cage is dead or alive, they are all at a disadvantage. If they continue to fight, they can only be defeated by the Konoha village group. Extinguish. Jident Magnet Style, Sand and Iron Rain. A large number of sharp arrows made of iron sand shot out, directly forcing the opponent back. Jident Magnet Style, Sand Iron Sky Wing. The iron sand turned into 2 huge wings and appeared on the guard's back. The wings flapped, and he flew straight up. Immediately after, the guards gathered a few chains and tied them around the waists of the remaining Sunagakure villagers, trying to run with them. I have to say, if the flying guard wants to leave, it will be difficult to stop him, even if Dong Shenyao takes everyone to fly together. After all, everyone else is relying on Dong Shenyao's power and cannot leave Dong Shenyao too far. Seeing that the remaining Sunagakure was about to flee, where would Miyamura Harmony and others allow it? They hurriedly used ninjutsu to attack. Some attacked the guards, and some attacked the chains. Although everyone's attacks were avoided by the guards, some chains were hit by ninjutsu and were directly shattered. Go away, Kono-sama, leave us alone. After several Sunagakure who fell down shouted, they used all their strength to entangle the Konoha ninja. Looking at the desperate companion below, the guard's eyes flashed with tears, and then he bit Kiba, flapping his wings and flying in the direction of the land of wind. Without the restraint of the guards, the few Sunagakure villagers who stayed behind were quickly killed. Because of the huge disparity in strength between the two sides, they couldn't do it if they wanted to die together. During this period, Dong Shenyao robbed another head and got 9,000 god-making points. After the battle was over, everyone could not take a rest. After sealing the bodies of the ninjas in Sunagakure village, the group went straight to the fortress. When they returned to the fortress, they found that the ninjas of Sunagakure village had retreated, and it was obvious that the guards who had returned early gave the order. Seeing that Sunagakure was about to run away, how could Dong Shenyao and the others allow it? And immediately a group of masters led the Konoha ninja to chase and kill him. Chapter 327 War coming to an end. Faced with the pursuit of Konoha ninjas, the Sunagakure who didn't know the truth were very frustrated. They didn't understand why the guards, who were the commanders, would let them retreat. Just now, due to the lack of time, he was afraid that the strong Konoha would catch up, so after the guard came to the battlefield with some quasi-shadows, he did not explain at all, so he directly ordered to retreat, and then he directly led the people to run first. The Sunagakure were unwilling, but since it was an order from the commander, they had to obey. However, some people directly ignored the guard's orders and chose to stay and resist the attack of Konoha village. There are still some left. Dong Shenyao, who was running at the front, laughed when he saw dozens of Sunagakure trying to intercept him. Because of the flight, Dong Shenyao ran the fastest. Of course, the reason for this was to grab the head. Close, those Sunagakure threw kunai, shuriken, and used ninjutsu to attack him. Tashinyao didn't dodge these attacks at all. Shinra Tensai Almighty Push sign. Boom. A strong repulsion force was issued, directly repelling all attacks, and then Dong Shenyao approached them under the shocked gaze of Sunagakure. Gravity Field. House of Flying Daggers. With two skills in a row, with the improvement of strength, the increased gravity in the gravity field has also increased a lot. Now if Dong Shenyao releases gravity with all his strength, even Jonin will be unable to move in the gravity field, especially Jonin will be seriously injured directly. As for those under the special Jonin, there is only one possibility of death. Sunagakure left at this time were Chunin and special Jonin, few of them reached the Jonin level, and as for the elite Jonin, there was not a single one. A gravity field killed more than half of the remaining Sunagakure, and many Chunin's internal organs burst directly, and the skin also cracked. They fell to the ground, and blood continued to flow out. In particular, Jonin was not feeling well. They were half squatted on the ground and under pressure. Although they didn't die, they were all injured. Only a few Jonin were okay. But then countless thorns emerged from the ground, and this time, there was no one alive. After all, even the only intact Jonins had difficulty moving at this time, and they had no ability to dodge the thorns that suddenly emerged from the ground. Soon, one after another corpses were seen hanging on the soil thorns, and blood flowed down the soil thorns to the ground. Dong Shenyao didn't stop, and after killing dozens of Sunagakure, Dong Shenyao continued to chase after him. It has to be said that the application of Dong Shenyao's skills to large-scale wars is simply a big killer. Even Jonin can't stop it, only to be killed in seconds. Although Sunagakure retreated very quickly, How could ordinary ninjas outrun Junkage and Cage-level masters? Not long after, many Sunagakur were caught up by Toshinyao and the others, and all the ninjas caught up had only one result. That is death. The end. Dong Shenyao and the others chased directly to the camp of Sunagakur village and then stopped. It wasn't because they couldn't continue chasing, but everyone was tired from today's battle. If they continued to fight, they could directly defeat Sunagakur, but the loss of Konoha village was also not enough. It will not be small, so after chasing the Sunagakur village camp, Miyamura Harmony directly ordered to retreat. More than 3,000 Konoha ninjas slowly retreated to the fortress under the leadership of Miyamura Harmony and others, and won a big victory. The Konoha ninjas smiled happily, and the originally depressing atmosphere disappeared. After the wounded were settled, Dong Shenyao and other experts gathered in the council hall. Although many people had injuries on their bodies, this could not hide the smiles on everyone's faces. Ha ha ha, great, we're finally going to win. Shimura Danzo laughed, grinning, tears streaming down the corners of his eyes. No matter what happened to Danzo in the later stage, he is still just a young man, and he also has good friends who can be entrusted to life and death comrades. Yeah, too many people were sacrificed in this war, Senju Ieya, Uchiha Kagami, Kenichi. They all died to protect Konoha, and now that they are finally going to win, they can also rest their eyes. Everyone was silent, and suddenly everyone found that even if they were about to win the war, the joy they had before disappeared because they had sacrificed too much for the victory. Okay, let's stop remembering these for now. We haven't won yet. As long as Sunagakur village doesn't surrender, everything is possible. We can't take it lightly. Nara reminded for a long time. Yeah, it's not time for us to relax yet. Now that Cage is dead, and Sunagakur village's strength has been greatly reduced, it's a good time for us to counterattack, and we can't give him a chance to breathe. Yoshikawa Jiro echoed. Listening to everyone's discussion, Dong Shenyao's mood was somewhat contradictory. He knew that the first war in the ninja world was drawing to a close, and as long as Sunagakur village surrendered, the war would be over. Dong Shenyao also yearns for peace. After all, since he entered the battlefield, he has not had much rest. But in the same way, once the war is over, the war function will also be closed, and he will not be able to get the god-making point by slaughtering the ninja. Don't look at the fact that he has accumulated a lot of god-building points now, but he needs a lot of god-building points now. Once he exchanges S-level items, he can't exchange them at all. So if it's for the sake of creating gods, Dong Shenyao doesn't want the war to end. Forget it, let's go with the flow. In the next battle, start trying to get more magic points. Now that the battle situation has become clear, and more research is needed, everyone quickly made arrangements for what to do in the next few days. And Dong Shenyao basically didn't say anything, just listened there, at most expressed his approval. Before and after the discussion, everyone left. After Dong Shenyao separated Shadow Clone to deal with the outside affairs, he returned to his residence. As soon as he returned to the room, Dong Shenyao hurriedly entered the space for creating the gods. Calling out the task panel, I saw that the above S-level task has been displayed as completed. S-level mission. Kill the second-generation Cage with your own hands. Complete. Get 15,000 god-making points. Cage is a cage-level peak master. After killing him, the god-building system gave him another 40,000 god-building points. This made Dong Shenyao increase by more than 50,000. Cage deserves to be the lord of the village and is worth a lot. He is such a good man. If Cage knew what Dong Shenyao was thinking at this time, he would probably vomit blood in anger. He didn't want to be such a good person. After all, he had to pay with his life, and the price was too high. After closing the task panel, Dong Shenyao checked his current total number of god-building points. Damn it! Dong Shenyao couldn't help but utter a foul language after reading his existing magic point. Chapter 328 The Backbone of Sunagakur Village. Looking at the magic point that he has now, Dong Shenyao was stunned for a moment, and then he was extremely surprised. 170,000. more than 170,000. Dong Shenyao was going crazy. He didn't expect that he had accumulated more than 170,000 god constructing points. This had already broken a record. Last time, before Dong Shenyao strengthened the soil fruit, his spirit constructing points were only 10. Just 1 or 2,000. I can exchange a lot of good things this time. Dong Shenyao thought to himself. Of course, although there are already a lot of god creation points, Dong Shenyao is not in a hurry to exchange them, because the first battle is about to end, and it will be difficult for him to get god creation points at that time. He can only complete the system release task. Therefore, Dong Shenyao has to save some use, otherwise, it will be troublesome when something needs to be created in the future. Anyway, the strength is enough now, so let's do it first. After taking a final look at the number of god creation points, Dong Shenyao withdrew from the god creation space, because he was afraid that he would be tempted to exchange things if he stayed any longer. After coming out of the god creating space, because Shadow Clone took care of things outside, Dong Shenyao started to practice directly. Time passed slowly. Although Kazekage had been killed, Harmony Miyamura did not rush to attack Sunagakur, but took some training in the fortress. After 10 days, most of the ninjas' injuries were healed. Miyamura Harmony then assembled the team to start the counterattack. At this time, Sunagakur village has also accepted the fact that their Kazekage is indeed dead. Otherwise, why did they not show up for so many days? Even if they were trapped, they could not be trapped for long with the strength of Kazekage. Although he was unwilling to accept it, Kono had to take a countermeasure, which was to retreat. At the beginning, the guards didn't believe that Kazekage was dead, so although he lost to Konoha village before, he didn't retreat, he just stayed in the camp and wanted to wait for Kazekage to return. However, after waiting for a few days, Kazekage did not come back, and the guards also confirmed the news of Kazekage's death. No way, if he stayed, he was afraid that Konoha village would attack them, and now they were no longer Konoha's opponents. Although he heard the news of Sunagakur's retreat, Miyamura Harmony did not attack, but did not attack until most of the Konoha ninjas recovered. At this time, the ninjas of Sunagakur village had already retreated to the Land of Wind, so the Konoha army was unimpeded along the way. Although there is a Tang ninja village in the country of the river, but now the Tang ninja village has been crippled, they all don't know where to hide, and they don't dare to come out. How can they still have the courage to stop the Konoha ninja? Less than a day, everyone came to the border of the Land of Wind. This is not the first time for the Konoha ninjas to come here. The last time was like this. After killing the Jinchuriki column force of Sunagakur village, they directly Sunagakur rushed back to the Land of Winds. However, the last time Miyamura Harmony and the others did not break the fortress, the two sides just stalemate at the fortress. After learning the news of Senju Tobarama's fall, Miyamura Harmony had to retreat with his people. After that, the situation reversed. Instead, Miyamura Harmony and the others were blocked in the fortress by Sunagakur and could not get out. 10 kilometers away from the fortress of the Land of Winds, Konoha ninjas set up camp. Inside the fortress, the high-level officials of Sunagakur village gathered to discuss countermeasures. Commander, what should we do? Lord Kazekage is dead, and we lost a lot of masters in the previous battle. Now we can't be the opponent of Konoha ninja. A quasi-Kage said worriedly. Yeah, I think it's better to surrender. No, someone proposed to surrender just now, but it was immediately rejected. We cannot surrender even if we are not our opponents. What else can we do if we don't surrender? Do we have to sacrifice in vain, like Iwagakure village, and finally Konoha village broke the fortress and forced them to surrender? Who said that the village of Iwagakure can't be stopped? We may not be able to stop it. Seeing everyone quarreling, the guard didn't speak, just sat there and listened to the two sides disagreeing. At this time, the guards were also a little confused. According to his character, he didn't want to surrender, but he also knew that it would only be them who would continue to fight and lose. And the guards think more, if they surrender after the fortress is broken like Iwagakure village, the price to pay is undoubtedly greater, because at that time they have no room to resist. But now is different. If Sunagakure surrendered, even if they agreed to pay compensation, the amount would be far less than in Iwagakure. Thinking of this, Kono made a decision, but just when he was about to speak, he was stunned by the words of one person. I know we will lose if we keep fighting, but even if we know we will lose, we can't surrender, because if we surrender now, our Sunagakure village's backbone will be gone, and we will never be able to raise our heads in front of Konoha village in the future. Don't you think Iwagakure village doesn't know surrender? No, they must have thought about it too, but they didn't. They didn't surrender until the fortress was breached. Not that they were stupid, but they knew, that's the only way to save some of Iwagakure's backbone, because they tried their best, so instead of surrender, I'd rather die. Bone. The guard was stunned for a moment, then a look of determination flashed in his eyes. Okay, stop arguing. Kono finally spoke. Commander. As soon as the guard spoke, the others fell silent, staring closely at the guard, waiting for his decision. Don't say it, my guards will never surrender. If you don't want to die, go back to the village first. In short, if the fortress is not broken, I will not surrender. Not only is 0.1 for the sake of backbone, we also have to believe in miracles. Why can Konoha village be able to turn a defeat into a victory while we can't? Quote. The guard's words, several Sunagakure bowed their heads, they were ashamed. The Konoha ninja attacked the fort the day after they arrived. Facing the attack of the Konoha ninja, the Sunagakure village ninja showed no weakness and resisted the attack of the Konoha. Relying on the advantages of the city wall, the two sides were at a stalemate for a while. But at this time, neither of the powerhouses made a move, otherwise the situation would definitely change. Miyamura-kun, when are we going to shoot? Yoshikawa Jiro asked. Don't worry, Sunagakure is in a hurry now, so we can wait a little longer. Miyamura Harmony said with a plan. Chapter 329 New Discovery. The situation at this time was indeed confirmed by Miyamura Harmony, and the powerhouses of Sunagakure village were anxious. For them who are in a weak position, they are very nervous from the beginning of the battle. They have already prepared for the battle with the Konoha ninja, but they have not seen the strong Konoha shot for a long time, which has to make them wonder, is it? It's not that the Konoha ninjas have some conspiracy. Thinking of this, the powerhouses of Sunagakure village began to worry, and at the same time, they couldn't calm down, and they became impatient, even the guards who were the commanders. Miyamura Harmony deserves to have lived for such a long time. Although he is comparable in strength to the young guards, he is not comparable to the guards in terms of knowledge. Now Miyamura Harmony is trying to make the people of Sunagakure village anxious. In this way, once the mentality is destroyed, the strength will not be fully displayed if they fight again. This is Miyamura Harmony's strategy. However, he didn't wait too long. After all, the people of Sunagakure village might have reacted after a long time, and his plan would have failed. After waiting for about 10 minutes, Miyamura Harmony knew it was okay. 15 Let's go. After saying hello, everyone acted directly and rushed to the fortress. As for the fortress in Sunagakure village, Dong Shenyao had no intention of taking action. I don't know how many seals were placed on this fortress. Even Dong Shenyao couldn't easily break it, so he didn't take action on the fortress. My lord, they have finally appeared. After seeing Miyamura Harmony and others appearing on the battlefield, the Sunagakure village master was not only not nervous, but laughed. Never was he happier to see Miyamura Harmony than now. Go. Facing Miyamura Harmony. At this time, the two sides were similar in terms of number of people, but in terms of quality, Sunagakure village was not enough. They only had one cage-level master left, and the rest were quasi-shadows. On the other hand, in Konoha village, there are only 3 people who have reached cage level, plus 1 Dong Shenyao who has cage level strength. This is 4 cage level masters. Sunagakure village resists such a lineup. As soon as he came up, Miyamura Harmony and Yoshikawa Jiro stopped the guards. 2-on-1, the guards were not the second generation cage, and the guards will be called the strongest cage in the future, but now he is still young and has far-reaching strength. It is far from reaching its peak, so facing the two powerhouses of the same level, the guards are directly passive. Tashinyao and another cage-level master from Konoha brought Danzo and other 4 quasi-shadows to fight with the quasi-shadows of Sunagakur village. Sunagakur village before, but yesterday, several people died at once, and now there are only 6 people left. The number of the two sides is the same, they are 6 to 6, but the difference in strength is huge. Soon several quasi-shadows of Sunagakur village were injured. At first, there were other people around, so both sides restrained, but soon, everyone left the battlefield directly. After there was no obstacle, both ninjas broke out with all their strength, explosions sounded one after another, and thick smoke billowed into the sky. He stood up, covering the crowd. Bang, bang, bang. Dang dang dang. Various voices kept coming out. Because the two sides were fighting together at this time, many of Dong Shenyao's ranged skills could not be used, and only single skills could be used, which undoubtedly limited his strength, but even so, his strength was not quasi-shadow comparable. At this time, Dong Shenyao still had the upper hand in the two quasi-shadows fighting alone. The Ino Shikacho trio is very sharp, and the 3 are all patriarchs. They have been together for many years and cooperate with each other tacitly. The combination of the 3 can even defeat the powerhouse at the early stage of cage level. It is precisely because there are 3 people, so before during the battle with Sunagakur village, Konoha was able to block Sunagakur village's attack in front of him without being defeated. The 8 inner gates, the view gates open. Although Dong Shenyao had the upper hand at this time, it was difficult to defeat or even kill the 2 Sunagakur villagers, so he could only use his whole cards. Boom! A powerful aura emanated from Dong Shenyao's body, and with the control of gravity, Dong Shenyao's speed suddenly became much faster. Bang! Dong Shenyao punched a quasi-shadow in front of the chest, and the huge force directly knocked him out, and at this time another quasi-shadow seized the opportunity to attack Dong Shenyao, but Dong Shenyao directly stepped on his feet. The body instantly disappeared in place, but there was a crisp sound of pop, and the air was stepped on by Dong Shenyao. Land feet. Dong Shenyao kicked out directly, and a moon, Kiba-shaped air blade directed towards the quasi who had been flung by him before. Doden, Earth-style, Earth flow wall. As soon as the Sunagakur village quasi-shadow landed, it hurriedly hand-sealed, and a stone wall suddenly rose. Bang! With one blow, the air blade directly smashed the stone wall, and then hit Sun Ying. Bang! The smoke was angry, and Sunagakur village's quasi-shadow turned into a piece of wood. It turned out that he had used the double technique when the air blade was blocked by the stone wall. At the same time, Dong Shenyao had already fought with another Kuan Yin. Lord of the Earth. Boom! A rock giant slowly stood up from the ground, and then hit it with a palm. This Kuan Yin was fighting against Dong Shenyao. Facing the sudden attack of the palm, he wanted to dodge, but at this time, Dong Shenyao entangled him with all his strength. Leave it to me. At this time, another quasi-shadow from 113 arrived and quickly hand-sealed with both hands. Raiden, Thunder style, false darkness. The lightning flashed and went straight to the rock giant. Boom! The explosion sounded, and the thunder light flashed on the rock giant, but it was not damaged. All the thunder and lightning had been introduced into the earth. What? Seeing this scene, Sunagakur, who shot, was stunned. Bang! The huge palm of the rock giant fell, hitting Dong Shenyao and Sunagakur at the same time, but Dong Shenyao was fine. Instead, his body was directly integrated into the rock giant's body, and the Sunagakur was miserable, and his body was directly smashed into the ground. Middle. After Dong Shenyao's body entered the rock giant's body, he did not come out directly. Instead, he controlled the rock giant to continue to attack Sunagakur. After entering the rock giant's body, Dong Shenyao found that he was more able to control the rock giant. Dong Shenyao first added a layer of repulsion to the rock giant. After the ground repulsed the rock giant suddenly became faster. Then the rock giant waved. Godkiller. A rock-long spear condensed, and was then grabbed by the rock giant. Go to hell. The rock giant wielded a long spear and stabbed at Sunagakur on the ground. Chapter 330 City Break, Part 1. Get away from me. Sunagakur, who was slapped on the ground by the rock giant before, was injured. At this time, it was too late to dodge. At this time, another Sunagakur shot quickly, trying to deal with his companion. Bang! Sunagakur put one foot on the rock giant. If this foot is kicked on an ordinary rock, it can definitely crack the mountain. Unfortunately, the rock giant is not composed of ordinary rocks, but has been condensed by Dongshenyao, and its hardness is no worse than that of metal. So this kick just broke some rock fragments, but it couldn't repel the rock giant at all. Boom! The rock-long gun directly bombarded the ground, and suddenly a loud explosion sounded, and the smoke filled the air. Through Byakugan Dongshenyao had seen that Sunagakur, who was lying on the ground before, was directly smashed by the long gun. Then Dongshenyao didn't care about him anymore, and turned to attack another Sunagakur. Because Dongshenyao is in the rock giant's body at this time, he doesn't need to dodge or defend at all. Even if Sunagakur attacks, he can't break the rock, so Dongshenyao can attack Sunagakur unscrupulously. Sunagakur also knew how powerful the rock giant was, so he didn't confront Dongshenyao head-on at all, but instead relied on the flexibility of his body to keep dodging. Although the repulsion force was used to make the rock giant faster, it was huge and lacked in flexibility, so it was difficult to hit Sunagakur at once. Seeing Sunagakur jumping around there, even if he couldn't hit, Dongshenyao was also anxious. HMPH, do you think there's nothing you can do about me? Tomo appeared in Dongshenyao's eyes hidden under the color contact lenses, and then Tomo turned quickly, and finally turned into a three-edged shuriken. Sunagakur was dodging the attack of the rock giant, but suddenly, he only felt a throbbing in his soul, and then he had a feeling of being out of the body, as if the soul was separated from the body. Although this feeling soon disappeared, however, it also affected his movements, causing his body to stagnate for a short time. At this time, Dongshenyao seized the opportunity, and the rock-long gun in his hand directly bombarded Sunagakur's body. Whoosh! Just like playing baseball, the rock spear is the club, and Sunagakur is the ball. After being hit by the spear, the body flew out. Go! The rock giant raised the long spear and threw it out. Bang! While Sunagakur's body was still in the air, he was directly hit by the rock-long gun, and his body was torn apart, and the sky was stained with blood. After killing two Quenyings one after another, Dongshenyao was excited. After all, this is an 18,000-point creation. However, at this time, Dongshenyao's left eye left a streak of blood. The reason why Sunagakur suddenly stagnated just now was caused by Dongshenyao's pupil technique. Dongshenyao's Mangekyo Sharingan's right eye skill is life control, which can control life force, but can only control Dongshenyao's own life force. And his left eye is similar to the skill life control called soul control. As the name suggests, it can control the soul. This skill is the opposite of life control. It can only be used on the enemy. That is, Dongshenyao cannot control his own soul. This ability can be said to be very domineering, because it directly targets the soul. If a person's soul dies, then he is really dead. But unfortunately, although the ability is very good, it consumes a lot of money. If Dongshenyao was using life control, he would not feel anything. However, if you use soul control, the consumption of pupil power is huge. Dongshenyao just used it for less than 2 seconds, and his eyes can't stand it anymore, and he bleeds directly. Hey, looks like it's time to upgrade the Sharingan when this fight is over. After eliminating the two quasi-shadows, Dongshenyao did not go to help the others to fight, but returned to the battlefield outside the fortress. At this time, the ninja battle between the two sides was fierce, and Dongshenyao controlled the rock giant to come over. Facing this giant, the Konoha ninja hurriedly avoided. Fortunately, Dongshenyao used the rock giant in front of the Konoha ninja before, so they all recognized it, so there was no attack. But Konoha ninjas don't attack, but that doesn't mean Sunagaku doesn't attack either. Seeing that the rock giant was about to walk in front of the fortress, many Sunagaku immediately launched a ninjutsu attack on the rock giant. Boom! 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 A large number of ninjutsu bombarded the rock giant, and the ninjutsu exploded, as bright as evolution, and instantly the rock giant was covered by blossoming fireworks. Is it all right? Seeing this scene, many Konoha ninjas became worried. Soon the smoke dissipated, and a tattered rock giant appeared in everyone's sight. Although the rock giant is very strong, it can't stand the attack of so many ninjas, but although the rock giant was damaged, it did not hurt Dong Shenyao inside. At the same time, the rock giant was recovering at a speed visible to the naked eye. In less than half a minute, the rock giant had recovered more than half, and then continued to walk towards the fortress. Quick! Keep attacking! One of the elite Jonin on the city wall, he took the lead in attacking the rock giant. This time Dong Shenyao did not choose to use the rock giant to resist. Earth Shield. A huge rock shield appeared in front of the rock giant, followed by a large number of attacks hitting the rock shield. Boom! The explosion sounded, and the smoke filled the air, but soon the rock giant came out of the smoke unscathed, and at this time the rock giant was less than 10 meters away from the fortress. The rock giant waved the recondensed long spear in his hand and smashed it towards the fortress. Boom! The long spear hit the city wall, and the rubble suddenly flew around, but because there were a lot of seals on the city wall, this time the city wall was not damaged much. But it didn't end. The rock giant stepped forward and punched the city wall. Although the city wall did not collapse due to the ceiling formation, it shook violently. At this time, the Konoha ninja took advantage of the rock giant to attract firepower, and many people had already climbed the city wall and fought with Sunagaku above. The battle continued, and the rock giant kept bombarding the city wall with a long spear in his right hand, and at some point in his left hand there was an extra shield to resist Sunagaku's attack. The long guns continued to bombard the city wall, and the walls were fine, but many Sunagaku were affected and killed by the long guns. Seeing that the city wall could not be broken for a long time, Dong Shenyao was also angry. Roar! The rock giant roared up to the sky, and then gave up the long spear and rammed his huge body directly towards the city wall. Chapter 331 City Break Below. Boom! The huge body of the rock giant directly hit the city wall. With the improvement of Dong Shenyao's strength, the height of the rock giant also increased, from the original 10 meters to the current 15 meters. Moreover, before the impact, Dong Shenyao exerted gravity on the rock giant, which made the rock giant's weight increase a lot. Under this collision, even though the city wall had a lot of ceiling formations, it shook violently, and even more many seal formations were directly shattered because they could not withstand the attack. Come again. Dong Shenyao showed no mercy, got up and continued to collide. At this time, Sunagaku had been held back by the Konoha ninja, and there was no time to take care of Dong Shenyao. As for some sporadic attacks, Dong Shenyao directly ignored them. Boom! With another impact, the countless seal formations on the city wall shone with brilliance, resisting the impact of the rock giant, but soon a lot of rays of light shattered, which was the manifestation of the shattering of the seal formations. With the destruction of a large number of sealing circles, a large pit even appeared on the city wall at this time. Boom! 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 Although the city wall is sturdy, it cannot withstand so many hits. After 8 consecutive hits, all the sealing circles on the city wall were finally broken. Without the protection of the sealing circles, how could the city wall be able to withstand it? Live the impact of the rock giant. However, although the sealing formation was broken, Dong Shenyao did not rush to continue hitting the city wall, but shouted directly, "All the Konoha ninjas retreat." Konoha ninjas have already discovered the problem of the city wall without Dong Shenyao talking. Where can these people dare to stay? They quickly retreated one by one. Not only were the Konoha ninjas retreating, but Sunagaku was also retreating, and many went straight down the city walls. Seeing that the Konoha ninja had already retreated, Tashinyao no longer hesitated, and the huge body of the rock giant moved again, Boom! It hit the city wall again, and the huge sound was deafening. This time the city wall couldn't hold on any longer. Countless pieces of rubble flew around, and some Sunagaker, who was running slowly, were hit by the stones. Boom! Nearly a quarter of the hundreds of meters long city wall collapsed in an instant. Although the rest still stood there, they were also in danger. The smoke filled the air, and a large amount of dust and smoke blocked the figure of the rock giant. Rock rain. Many stones flying in the sky have not yet landed, and they turned into soil thorns and shot at Sunagaker in the distance. Ah! Ah! Screams sounded one after another, and in an instant, dozens of Sunagaker died under the rain of rocks. Konoha ninja, follow orders, follow me. After Dong Shenyao shouted, he rushed out of the smoke-shrouded area with his long spear and charged towards Sunagaker. Hurry up and stop him. Seeing the rock giant rushing in, the Sunagaker didn't bother to retreat any further, and hurriedly stopped to block Dong Shenyao. A large number of ninjutsu and detonating talismans came, and Dong Shenyao hurriedly erected his shield. Boom! The explosion sounded, and the rock giant's footsteps stopped. However, all the attacks were blocked by the rock giant, and the Konoha ninja was no longer in danger, and approached Sunagaker very smoothly, and the two sides immediately faced each other. The two ninjas were fighting together, and Sunagaker couldn't care about Dong Shenyao. At this time, he controlled the rock giant to approach Sunagaker again, and then waved his long spear. Boom! With a loud explosion, more than a dozen Sunagaker were directly shot by the long spear. The power of this shot was not small. These ninjas couldn't stop it at all. The battle continued. Dong Shenyao controlled the rock giant to rage in the crowd, and no one could stop him. Even the elite Jonin could only escape and save his life. Run! I don't know who shouted. Sunagaker began to rout, and a large number of Sunagaker ran towards the back of the fortress. Defeat was like a mountain, and Sunagaker's defeat could no longer stop the attack of the Konoha ninjas. Facing the fleeing Sunagaker, a group of Konoha ninjas directly chased and killed them. And it was Dong Shenyao who rushed in front of him. The rock giant was not slow, and the distance he took in one step was comparable to that of other people running 8 or 9 steps. In the end, the chase was over 100 miles before it stopped. It's not that he doesn't want to continue chasing and killing, but that Sunagaker has dispersed and fled into the vast desert. If he continues to chase the Konoha ninja, he can only get lost in the desert. The Land of Wind has a harsh environment, and most of the country is desert. This is a major disadvantage of the Land of Wind, but it is also a natural barrier for the Land of Wind. Outsiders are not familiar with the situation here and can easily get lost in the desert. Withdraw. Gathered the Konoha ninjas who were chasing after him and returned to the fortress. When returning to the fortress, Dong Shenyao met Miyamura Harmony and others. Commander, how is the situation? The guards ran away. Miyamura Harmony said a little depressedly. Let's run as soon as we run. Now that the fortress has been breached by us, it's impossible to destroy Sunagaker village, so prepare to negotiate. Hey, the damned environment of the Land of Wind. Looking at the desert in the distance, Miyamura Harmony cursed fiercely. Yeah, if it weren't for this desert, we could completely destroy Sunagaker village. Yoshikawa Jiro agreed. After venting their dissatisfaction, everyone began to get busy. Tashinyao was in charge of taking care of the wounded, Yoshikawa Jiro began to count the casualties, Nara took people to tidy up the fortress, and everyone else had work to do. It wasn't until late at night that everyone was busy and started to rest. That night, everyone lived in the fortress. Although the walls of the fortress have been destroyed, most of the buildings inside are still intact, and they can be lived in as long as they are sorted out. After returning to the room, Dong Shenyao hurriedly entered the space for creating the gods. Looking at the quest panel, Dong Shenyao found that the S-level quest inside, helping Konoha village to win the first war in the ninja world, was still unfinished. It seems that this mission will not be completed until the official surrender of Sunagaker village. Then Dong Shenyao took another look at the god creation points. Compared with the previous ones, there were more than 30,000 god creation points. Of course, most of them were contributed by the two quasi-shadows, and the rest was the previous Dongshenyao, obtained by killing ordinary ninjas. After leaving the god-making space, Dongshenyao put on a posture of yijinjing and began to rest. 10 has passed, and 5 days have passed since the fortress was breached. On this day, the messenger from Sunagakure finally arrived. Although he knew that the Sunagakure village messenger was coming, Dongshenyao didn't go to see him. Naturally, Miyamura Harmony and Narajiu were responsible for everything. It was not until the evening of that day that Miyamura Harmony called Dongshenyao and the others together. You should already know that the messenger from Sunagakure village is here today. Miyamura Harmony said straight to the point. Chapter 332 The Surrender of Sunagakure Village. The messengers from Sunagakure village came today and they brought news that Kazekage, the Sunagakure village representative, has decided to surrender. Excellent. As soon as Miyamura Harmony's voice fell, everyone suddenly cheered. After fighting for so long, didn't they just want to defeat Sunagakure village, and now this goal is about to be achieved. The matter of the surrender of Sunagakure village needs to be handled by Lord Hokage. I have already told the envoy of Sunagakure village about the specific matter. In a few days, Sunagakure village should send an envoy to Konoha village to discuss the matter of surrender. Which of you will go back with? Hearing Miyamura Harmony's words, Toshinyao couldn't help but move in his heart. Now Sunagakure village has also been defeated. If nothing else, the first battle is coming to an end. Even if there will be battles, it will be on a small scale. Instead of staying on the front line, it is better to return to the village. But there are still some things he needs to deal with. Commander, let me go back. Dongshenyao took the initiative to ask for instructions. What about you? Miyamura Harmony did not immediately agree, but looked at Yoshikawa Jiro and the others. We have no problem. Dongshenyao is the captain of the Dark Blade. There should be a lot of things for him to deal with, so let him go back. All the others agreed. Commander, why don't you let Yamanaka Konoha and Akamichi go back together? Both of them were injured in the previous battle, so they should go back to Konoha to recuperate. Nara Long suggested. In the previous battle to break the fortress, although Konoha village won a big victory, it was not without losses. Among them, the chief of the Yamanaka clan and the chief of the Akamichi clan were both seriously injured. Although they did not die, they were fundamentally injured. Even if they recovered, their strength would be affected to some extent. It can be said that their ninja careers are over, and they will never be seen again in the future. Unable to perform high-intensity tasks. Alright, then let Dongshenyao and the three return to the village with the envoy. Miyamura Harmony made a decision. 3 days later, the envoys from Sunagakure village arrived at the fortress. After the two sides met once, the next day, Dongshenyao and the three set off with the envoys and headed straight to the country of fire. This time, the lineup of envoys sent by Sunagakure village was quite large, and the leader of the team turned out to be a quasi-shadow. Dongshenyao doubted how Sunagakure village had the courage to send a quasi-shadow. Aren't they afraid that this quasi-shadow meat bun will beat the dog, and they will never return? Of course, Dongshenyao just thought about it, and he also knew that most of the quasi-shadow would be fine, because the current Hokage is Sarutobi Hiruzen, a peace-loving person. If it was Senju Tobarama, he might have done something else, but if it was Sarutobi Hiruzen, I'm afraid he would still deliberately protect this quasi-shadow. Although the battle has ended at this time, the accumulated hatred will not change. The three of Dongshenyao walked with the envoys of Sunagakure village, and the two sides were hostile to each other. After all, they all had friends and relatives who died in each other's hands. At this time, it was not bad to walk together and not fight directly. Dongshenyao also hates Sunagakure village, because his parents died at the hands of Sunagakure village ninjas, but he did not take action against these envoys, because he knew that even if he continued to fight now, it would be impossible to destroy Sunagakure village, so instead of let the two villages continue to fight, it is better to end this war first. His strength increases in the future, he will simply destroy Sunagakure village. On the third day, the group returned to the village. Because the news had been received in advance, when everyone came to the village, there were already ninjas waiting at the entrance of the village, and many villagers who received the news were watching from both sides of the road. Look, those are the ninjas from Sunagakur village, and they are the ones who killed a lot of us. A group of frogs at the bottom of the well dared to provoke our Konoha village. Now it's good, let's defeat it. These people are too hateful. Why didn't Lord Hokage order the destruction of Sunagakur village? Hearing the voices of the surrounding people, the ninjas of Sunagakur village all looked ugly, but this was Konoha village, and although they were angry, they could only bear it. Compared with Konoha village, the current Sunagakur village is more eager for peace. After all, the fortress has been broken, and it is only Sunagakur village who will continue to lose. Soon the group led them to the Hokage office, led by the ninjas who greeted them. Although Sarutobi Hiruzen was kind, he didn't have a good face for the people of Sunagakur village at this time, and looked at them with a cold face. I have seen Mr. Hokage, Masao Shimokisaka, this time on behalf of Mr. Kazekage and your village to discuss the truce. A truce? Do you just want a truce? Aren't you ready to surrender? Sarutobi Hiruzen asked in a bad tone. Masao Kasaka's face changed when he heard the words. The reason why he said the truce was just to look good. Did not expect Sarutobi Hiruzen to directly pick out the problem. Sorry, I made a mistake. I officially surrender to your village on behalf of Kazekage. It's okay to surrender, but your Sunagakur village has caused serious harm to our Konoha, so we need to pay compensation. Masao Kasaka was already mentally prepared, so he was not surprised by what Sarutobi Hiruzen said, and immediately asked, I don't know what compensation Hokage-sama needs. Don't worry about the compensation, you just arrived today, take a good rest first, and then we will talk about compensation slowly. Because of the previous negotiation with Iwagakure village, Sarutobi Hiruzen is also experienced in this kind of matter. At this time appears handy. Okay. Masao Kasaka didn't object either. After all, in other people's territory, of course he had to obey everyone's opinions. Then Kotaro, take these guests from Sunagakur village to rest first. Sarutobi Hiruzen said to a ninja who had greeted Toshinyao before them. Yes. After taking the order, Taro took the people from Sunagakur village and left, and for a while, only Sarutobi Hiruzen and Toshinyao were left in the room. Thank you for your hard work. Sarutobi Hiruzen looked at the three and said. It's not hard work, this is what we should do for the sake of the village. Now that the battle is almost over, you should have a good rest. Sarutobi Hiruzen's face also showed a relaxed look when he said this. Obviously the previous war had put him under a lot of pressure, or since Senju Tobarama after his death, Sarutobi Hiruzen was under a lot of pressure until the village of Sunagakur was ready to surrender, and he was relieved. Sarutobi, don't be too depressed, now the war is over, you should relax too. Akamichi advised. I want to relax too, but I can't do it in a short time. Sarutobi Hiruzen said helplessly. Chapter 333 Nawaki didn't stay at Sarutobi Hiruzen for a long time, and they left after chatting for a while. Among them, Akamichi went to the hospital for treatment, and Toshinyao went home directly. As for the Dark Blade, Dong Shenyao is not in a hurry to go, anyway, he will not leave the village in a short time. On this day, Dong Shenyao didn't go anywhere and stayed at home the whole time. Originally, Toshinyao was going to see Tsunade, but he just learned from Sarutobi Hiruzen that Tsunade is not in the village now. In the blink of an eye, one day passed, and the next morning, Dong Shenyao came directly to the Dark Blade headquarters. Compared with before, there are many more people in the Dark Blade headquarters now, but most of them are children. The parents and relatives of these people died in the war and became orphans. Some of them are Konoha village, but mostly people from other places. Don't think that the ninja war is just a battle between ninjas. There are also battles between countries, but the battles with ninjas are not on the same battlefield. The battles between armies naturally have different battlefields. Compared with the battle between ninjas and the national army, the country of fire is easier, because the army of the country of fire is much stronger than the country of wind and the country of earth, and it is not inferior to 1 to 2. But even so, the loss of the country of fire is not small. Many villages on the border of the country of fire were destroyed, many people were killed, but some children survived by luck. Later, these children were found by Kudo-jun and others, and they were included in the Dark Blade. However, the time for these children to join the Dark Blade is still short. At this time, they are in the learning stage, and they have little strength. However, once they grow up, the Dark Blade will completely grow into a behemoth. On this day, Dong Shenyao stayed directly in the Dark Blade, while dealing with some things, and at the same time instructing everyone to cultivate, and Dong Shenyao did not return home until the evening. The next day, Dong Shenyao just sent Shadow Clone to the Dark Blade headquarters, because Tsunade was coming back today, so of course Dong Shenyao had to wait at home. Sure enough, just after noon, Tsunade found Dong Shenyao. "Yao, it's great for you to come back safely." Although the two had not separated for a long time, Tsunade was still very excited, and when he saw Dong Shenyao, he jumped into his arms. The two of them didn't go anywhere that day, and stayed in the room all the time, telling each other about their experience of being apart for more than a month. Tsunade's experience is very simple, either cultivating in the village or going out to do tasks. Although Sarutobi Hiruzen, who is Tsunade's instructor, is now in the village, he has become a Hokage, and he has to deal with village affairs most of the time, so he can only assign Shadow Clone to instruct the three of them to practice. When it comes to the task, it is easy for the three of them to do it by themselves. For the difficult one, Sarutobi Hiruzen just sends an elite Jonin to assist. And Tsunade's eyes widened when he learned that Dong Shenyao actually killed Kazekage himself. "Yao, you're too powerful, you actually killed Kazekage." Tsunade's expression of admiration at this time made Dong Shenyao a little embarrassed. "Tsunade, I just made up the last knife. The real heroes are Yoshikawa Jiro and the others. I don't care, you can kill Kazekage anyway. Otherwise, why don't you reason with women, because women are unreasonable most of the time, just like now." Tsunade doesn't care how much Dong Shenyao does, anyway, she just know that Kazekage was killed by Tashinya in the end. Seeing that Tsunade didn't care, Dong Shenyao wisely did not continue discussing the cause of Kazecage's death with her, but changed the subject and told Tsunade about the battle with Sunagakure village. "Yao, are you saying that the envoys from Sunagakure village have come to the village?" "That's right, Sunagakure is ready to surrender. Now as long as the compensation is negotiated, the agreement can be signed, and this ninja war will end." Tsunade was silent when he heard the words. At first Dong Shenyao didn't find anything, but he quickly reacted. "Tsunade, did you think of your father?" "Yeah." Tsunade nodded with a sad look on his face. "My parents also died at the hands of Sunagakure village. I hate them," Dong Shenyao said with a look of reminiscence. "But I know that hating is useless. My strength is still too weak. Although Sunagakure village has been defeated, it is impossible to destroy Sunagakure village now, so I can only accept the surrender of Sunagakure village, otherwise if we continue if you fight it, it will only increase casualties." "Yao, I know, don't worry, I won't do stupid things." Tsunade knew that Dong Shenyao's words were addressed to her, for fear that she would disrupt the negotiation. "Tsunade, I believe in you because you are the granddaughter of the first and second generation, and you love this village more than anyone. I didn't understand before why my grandfather and father were willing to die for the sake of the village, but now I understand a little bit." Tsunade glared at the Eastern god and said. "Well, Tsunade, do you want to do Hokage?" "What?" Tsunade looked at Tashinyao in surprise. "Tsunade, as the granddaughter of the first and second generation, you should naturally inherit the will of your grandfathers, become Hokage, guard this village, and at the same time fulfill his last wish on behalf of your father." "Hokage, that sounds good too." At this moment, a smile appeared on Tsunade's mouth. After dinner, Dong Shenyao sent Tsunade home. This time, Dong Shenyao did not leave in a hurry, but entered Tsunade's house and visited her mother. "Hello Aunt Haruko. Yow, you're here. I didn't expect you to grow so big after not seeing you for a few years. By the way, I would like to thank you for taking care of Tsunade." Haruko's face was still filled with a loving smile, but Dong Shenyao still found that 0.8 in the there was a faint trace of sadness on her face, and it was obvious that Senju Yiya's death had a big impact on her. "Aunt Haruko, I heard that she has a younger brother. I wonder if I can take a look." "Okay." Haruko agreed very readily, then went back to the house and carried a baby out. "It's so cute." At this time, the baby was asleep, with a faint smile on the corner of his mouth. Senju Naoki, as the heir of the Senju family, his future is destined to be extraordinary. Dong Shenyao praised. "No, compared to the world, I hope he can be safe and sound, even if he spends his life in an ordinary life, I am willing." Haruko murmured while looking at the child in her arms. Chapter 334 The End of the War. Hearing Chunko's words, Dong Shenyao could feel her heart that hoped that her son could live safely. However, he knew that Haruko's wish was doomed to fail. Not to mention other things, Naoki's identity as the grandson of the first Hokage was doomed that he could not be ordinary in this life. Who was only 12 years old in the original book, died during the mission. Tashinya seemed to see Tsunade's sad face. "Tsunade, I won't make you sad anymore. With me, Naoki will be fine." At this moment, Tashinya has decided that no matter what, the tragedy in the original book cannot be repeated, not just because of Naoki, it was his brother-in-law, and because he didn't want to see Tsunade sad again. Didn't stay at Tsunade's house much, looked at Naoki, and after chatting with Haruko for a while, he said goodbye and left. In a blink of an eye, the night passed, and just after Shadow Clone was separated to go to Dark Blade the next day, an Anbu found him. "Sir, Lord Hokage has 15 requests." Anbu said respectfully. "Well, I see, you can go first." After waving away Anbu, Tashinya was thinking about Sarutobi Hiruzen's purpose in finding him. Isn't there another mission? Waiting for a while, Tsunade found Tashinya. "Really, my mom has to ask me to come back to you after breakfast." Tsunade complained as soon as he saw Tashinya. Hearing Tsunade's words, Tashinya understood Haruko's approach better. "Tsunade, I think Aunt Haruko did this just to see you more. After all, she only has 2 relatives left, you and Naoki." Hearing this, Tsunade suddenly fell silent. "Yo, thank you for reminding me." After a while, Tsunade finally spoke. "Tsunade, please accompany Aunt Haruko more in the future. Sarutobi just happened to be looking for me." "Well, I'll go back first." Sending Tsunade away, Tashinya went directly to the Hokage building. "Sir Sarutobi, do you have anything to do with me?" "Tashinya, I have 2 things to tell you now. The first is that the negotiations between me and Sunagakur village are basically over. An agreement will be signed tomorrow, and you will be there when the time comes. The second is that since you have come back, Anbu will be handed over to you to manage for the time being, so why bother?" Quote. "Got it, I'll go to Anbu to see it in a while." "Well, I won't disturb you. By the way, remember to come to me at 9 o'clock tomorrow morning." After talking about the business, Dong Shenyao stayed for a while, and after leaving the room, he went straight to Anbu. It was not the first time for Dong Shenyao to manage Anbu. After arriving at the place where Silver Tiger used to work, Dong Shenyao began to deal with the backlog of documents in Anbu, and a busy day began. On this day, Dong Shenyao spent the whole day in Anbu, and didn't go home to rest until late at night. Early the next morning, after having breakfast, Dong Shenyao came to Sarutobi Hiruzen's office. After arriving here, Dong Shenyao found that there were other people inside. These people were all the existing masters of Konoha, such as Uehara Kai and Hyuga clan. The patriarch Hyuga Wild Bear, of course, now that the patriarch of the Hyuga clan is dead, Hyuga Wild Bear can also be called the patriarch. "Okay, everyone is here, let's go." After speaking, Sarutobi Hiruzen walked out of the room. Only then did Dong Shenyao know that he was the last to arrive. "Teacher, how is your health now?" Dong Shenyao asked Uehara Ki. "It's healed, but you can't do too strenuous exercise in a short time." While the two were chatting, the group came to a conference room, where Dong Shenyao met the envoys of Sunagakur village. The two sides sat opposite each other. Dong Shenyao's eyelids drooped, and he sat there quietly without speaking. After Sarutobi Hiruzen greeted Sunagakur, the two parties began to sign an agreement. Dong Shenyao had no interest in taking care of this kind of thing. He directly summoned the task panel, stared at the task above, and waited. The moment the two parties signed the agreement, the system prompt sounded. Ding! Congratulations to the host for completing the S-level task and assisting Konoha village to win the First Ninja World War. Task reward: 30,000 God Creation Points. Ding! The Ninja World War is over, and the war function is closed. Two beeps sounded in succession. Dong Shenyao was very happy about the first one. After all, he got 30,000 God-making points, but the second beep made him depressed. Because there was no war function, he would kill ninjas in the future. If you don't, you won't be able to get a God point. Hey, I actually have some hope that the second war in the ninja world will come soon. Dong Shenyao thought to himself. With the signing of the agreement by the two parties, it also represents the official surrender of Sunagakur village, and it also represents the end of the First Ninja War after the end of the Sengoku era. Of course, for most people today, there is no such thing as the First Ninja War. The envoys from Sunagakur village didn't stay long either, and they didn't know whether they were anxious to spread the news back, or could not bear the strange gazes from everyone in Konoha village. Anyway, they left the day after signing the agreement. Finally it's over, Sarutobi Hiruzen shouted when the envoys left. The war was over, and Sarutobi Hiruzen's burden was completely relieved. Teacher, I didn't live up to your expectations, we won 557. Standing on the platform of the Hokage building, looking at the whole village, Sarutobi Hiruzen grinned Yuhi slightly. Of course, unlike Sarutobi Hiruzen, who was deeply touched, Toshinyao had already returned to Anbu and continued to deal with Anbu's affairs, while the others were also busy with their own affairs. Although World War I was over, Dong Shenyao knew that it was not the time to relax completely. After all, Konoha village won World War I, but the losses were huge. There were originally tens of thousands of ninjas, but now only the ones who survived. Only a few thousand people, the loss is more than half. For a long time, the village of Konoha needed to recuperate in order to recover from the losses caused by this war. However, I believe that with the compensation from the two villages, Konoha village will definitely recover faster than the other two villages. Just 5 days after the Sunagakur envoy left, Miyamura Harmony and others also returned to the village from the front. After all, Sunagakur village has surrendered, and they have to return the fortress to Sunagakur village. With the return of the crowd, Konoha village has also regained some popularity, but it is far from comparable to its heyday. Thank you for the monthly ticket support of Four Mouths and Mickey. Open a new volume tomorrow, please support. Chapter 335 New Beginning. In Konoha's 19th year, the first war in the ninja world, which lasted 6 or 7 years, came to an end with the surrender of Sunagakur village. In this battle, Konoha village fought Sunagakur village and Iwagakure village alone. Although the process was a bit dangerous, but finally defeated the enemy, which also showed the strong strength of Konoha as the largest ninja village. With the return of Miyamura Harmony and others, Konoha village has also entered a stage of recuperation. With the end of World War I, the name of Konoha village spread throughout the ninja world, and countless people knew about the powerful strength of Konoha village, so many people came to Konoha village to entrust tasks. Although Konoha village is currently short of manpower, Sarutobi Hiruzen has not refused these tasks. After all, if you want to develop the village, you cannot do without resources. At some point, money and resources are equal, and if you have money, you can buy all kinds of items you need. The development of Ninja Village is inseparable from these tasks, because only by completing the tasks can we get money, which in turn allows the village to develop rapidly. Due to the large number of tasks received, the ninjas in Konoha village were all busy. Basically, as long as there were no injuries, they all went out to perform tasks, and sometimes even had to use Anbu to help complete tasks. With a large number of tasks completed, Konoha village has also harvested countless money, which will be an important support for the development of Konoha. Jinchuriki column. In a blink of an eye, a month has passed. After the initial busyness, everything is on the right track. Sarutobi Hiruzen can also breathe a sigh of relief. At this time, he also has the energy to do some other things. Sarutobi Hiruzen has not forgotten that he is still acting as Hokage. Because of the previous war, Sarutobi Hiruzen did not hold the Hokage succession ceremony, nor did he notify the name of the country of fire. This day, Sarutobi Hiruzen gathered all the Konoha executives. Everyone, now the war is over, and other things are on track, so it's time for us to discuss the future development of the village. I would like to say two things here. The first is the Hokage succession ceremony. Before, because of the war, the succession ceremony was rejected. Now it is time to hold it, so as to appease the hearts of the villagers. Hearing Sarutobi Hiruzen's words, most people did not speak. If at the beginning, because Sarutobi Hiruzen was relatively young, everyone was a little bit resistant to him becoming a Hokage, then as he led everyone to victory in the war, Sarutobi Hiruzen has conquered everyone and made everyone recognize him as a Hokage. Of course, with the exception of Shimura Danzo, he is still haunted by Sarutobi Hiruzen taking over as Hokage. In his opinion, Hokage should be his. If he becomes Hokage, Konoha village will develop better and even unify the ninja world. But unfortunately, Danzo's power is still not as good as when the original work started. He is only a quasi-shadow, and in terms of power, he is not even as good as Dong Shenyao, so although he is dissatisfied, there is no place for him to speak. Danzo also wisely kept silent. Master Hokage is right, it's time to hold the succession ceremony, and it's time to start sculpting the Hokage cliff. Nara long agreed. Seeing that there was no objection from everyone, Sarutobi Hiruzen nodded in satisfaction. Since everyone has no opinion, then this matter is settled. The succession ceremony will be held in a month, and 1 month's preparation time should be enough. Now let me talk about the second thing. Before the end of the war, I said that the elders would be established, and now that the war is over, this matter should be put on the agenda. Hearing Sarutobi Hiruzen mention the elders, this time everyone suddenly came to the spirit, because this is closely related to them. And Yoshikawa Jiro and others who knew the inside story even looked at Tashinyao, because Sarutobi Hiruzen had promised before, once a group of elders was established, Tashinyao would be the chief elder. The elders. Lord Hokage, I don't know what this elders are. Because Miyamura Harmony has been fighting Sunagakure village, he has never heard of the elders. The so-called elders group is an organization I envisioned before, mainly to assist Hokage in managing the village, and also to check and balance Hokage's rights. From the fall of the second generation of Hokage and the chaos in the village, it can be seen that the entire village relies solely on it's too dangerous to have a Hokage to manage, and if something happens to the Hokage, the village will be in a state of leaderless and chaos. But if there is a group of elders, it will be different. Even if something happens to Hokage in the future, the village can be temporarily managed by the group of elders, so that the village can continue to maintain and not collapse. In addition, the elders can also limit the rights of Hokage. Once Hokage makes a wrong decision, the elders can also correct it. It turns out that this is the so-called elders group, which is indeed very beneficial to the village, so I agree. Miyamura Harmony directly agreed. As one of several remaining cage-level masters in Konoha village, Harmony Miyamura's opinion is still very important. Then others also expressed their opinions, all agreeing with the elders. After all, this is very beneficial to them, because the members of the elders must be selected from them. Well, let's determine the members of the elders first. As I said before, once the elders are established, the position of the first elder will be none other than Dongshenyao. As soon as Sarutobi Hiruzen finished speaking, the expressions on many people's faces were stunned. Jiro Yoshikawa, Kei Uehara and the others knew the inside story, and their expressions were normal, while Harmony Miyamura and the others changed their faces. Nara was surprised, Shimura Danzo was unwilling. In short, there were all kinds of expressions. Sarutobi, isn't your decision a bit reckless? Finally Shimura Danzo didn't hold back and said the words. Danzo, my decision was made through deliberation. Dong Shenyao's contribution to the village is indelible, and his strength is sufficient, so I don't think anyone will object to letting him be the chief elder. Sarutobi Hiruzen looked at the others. Shimura Danzo first looked at Homura Mitokado and Kaharu Udatane. They are both disciples of Senju Tobarama and have a good relationship, so Danzo hoped to get their support, but in the end Danzo was disappointed, because Homura Mitokado both bowed their heads one by one, no meaning to speak. They knew about the contribution made by Dongshenyao, so they were embarrassed to object. Then Danzo looked at Miyamura Harmony and Nara Long. Chapter 336 Elders Formed. Homura Mitokado is unreliable. Danzo can only look at Naraju and Miyamura Harmony. Of course, he hopes that Miyamura Harmony can stand up against it, because in Danzo's view, Miyamura Harmony is sure I don't want to be crushed by a young man. But unfortunately, Danzo was disappointed again because Miyamura Harmony didn't speak either. If it was someone else, even if Jiro Yoshikawa became the great elder, Harmony Miyamura would object, but now this person is Tashinyao. Harmony Miyamura is very supportive. There are two main reasons for this. The first is the relationship between the two. Although the two have not known each other for a long time, every time they meet, Dongshenyao will solve a big problem for him. Dongshenyao first beheaded Tangren village Zunian Gongwei, weakening the strength of Tangren village. This is a disguise. The help of Miyamura Harmony. After that, Dongshenyao killed the peak of Sunagakur village's peak, Silver 2, which directly weakened Sunagakur's strength. In the end, when Miyamura Harmony was threatened by the human Jinchuriki column force, it was Tashinyao's plan to get rid of the human Jinchuriki column force, which made them defeat Sunagakur village for the first time. Even this time they were able to defeat Sunagakur village so quickly, thanks to Tashinyao. After all, if it wasn't for Tashinyao's plan to get rid of Kazekage, they would probably still be fighting on the front line with Sand 303 Ninja Village. The combination of so many things made Miyamura Harmony always feel a little indebted to Dongshenyao. Of course, if this was the case, he would not immediately agree to Dongshenyao becoming the Great Elder. The second point is because of Dongshenyao's strength. When he fought with Kazekage before, Miyamura Harmony had seen Dongshenyao's strength, and he definitely reached Cage level, which also convinced Miyamura Harmony. Combining these 2 points, Miyamura Harmony has no objection. As for Naraju, although he is not very familiar with Dongshenyao, he can see the pros and cons even more with his intelligence. After all, Dongshenyao is young, and his achievements in the future are definitely not low. Even if he cannot become the Great Elder this time, there is a high chance of taking the position of the Great Elder in the future. Therefore, instead of offending Dongshenyao, it is better to sell his favor with the flow of the boat. At this time, Dongshenyao was also a little nervous. Although Sarutobi Hiruzen had promised him to be the first elder, Dongshenyao knew that if there were many people who opposed him, he would definitely not be the first elder. Is there any objection to Dongshenyao becoming the Great Elder? Sarutobi Hiruzen asked while scanning the crowd. Danzo wanted to say that he was against it, but when he saw that others didn't speak up, Danzo could only give up, because he knew that it was useless if he only objected. Then Dongshenyao would still become the Great Elder, but he would offend Dongshenyao because of it. Even Danzo had to marvel at Dongshenyao's talent. Such a genius. Danzo didn't want to offend him, otherwise he would definitely suffer. Seeing that no one objected, Sarutobi Hiruzen looked at Dongshenyao and said, East Shinyao, now I officially accept you as the chief elder of the elders and lead the elders. Don't worry, Lord Hokage, I will do my best to help you build Konoha village. Sarutobi Hiruzen was satisfied with Toshinyao's words. He made Toshinyao the great elder. Didn't he value the good relationship between Toshinyao and him? Well, now that the position of the chief elder has been decided, let's discuss the other members of the elders group. As the chief elder of the group of elders, the selection of elders is closely related to Dongshenyao, so this time he did not stand by and participate in the discussion. In the end, after deliberation, it was decided that the group of elders, including the chief elder, would have 9 elder seats in total, and the members who entered the elders group this time, in addition to Toshinyao, the chief elder, also Miyamura Harmony, Yoshi Kawajiro, Homura Mitokado, Kaharu Udatane, Shimura Danzo, Hyuga Wild Bear, Nara Hisa, and Uehara Kai. As for Akamichi and Yamanaka, who are also quasi-shadows, they were not able to enter the elders, because they and Nara were wearing a pair of pants at all. If they both joined the elders, it would easily affect the balance of the elders. Cage level master in the elders group, that is Senju Jiener, one of the 3 cage level masters in the front line of Sunagakur village. He is a Senju family, and he is also a cage level master. Eligible to be an elder. However, Senju Janji refused, and he also made a request that he was going to lead the Senju clan to leave Konoha. The reason for this is that after the First World War, a large number of Senju people died, and now there are less than 100 people alive. In order to save the Senju family, Senju Jiener decided to lead the Senju family to leave the village for seclusion. Regarding Senju's decision, everyone agreed after deliberation. After all, the Senju family has made a great contribution to Konoha village. Now that the family is about to perish, it is natural to protect it. As for the Uchiha family, although there are still quasi-shadows, they are directly forgotten by everyone. Because of Senju Tobarama, the Uchiha family has been far away from the management of Konoha village, and the position of the elders will naturally not be given to them. After that, everyone discussed the rules of the elders. Because the elders have just been established, many rules are not perfect. So far, only one thing has been determined, that is, once half of the elders vote against a plan of Sarutobi Hiruzen, the plan must be changed until the number of votes against it. Less than half. In the group of elders, except for the great elder, Dong Shenyao, everyone else has an equal status, and everyone has 1 vote. As the great elder, Dong Shenyao has 2 votes, which means that although there are only 9 members of the elders, there are 10 votes. As long as there are 5 votes against, then the plan proposed by Sarutobi Hiruzen will be changed. The discussion about the elders was one day, and they went back to rest until the evening. But even so, the rules of the elders have not been completely perfected, and in the days to come, they need to be changed according to the actual situation. Elders, Sarutobi's life will be difficult in the future. On the way home, Dong Shenyao showed a wicked smile on his face. Sarutobi Hiruzen set up the elders group, in order to use the elders group to consolidate his position in the village, but obviously Sarutobi Hiruzen did not know a word, that is, the tail is too big. Sarutobi Hiruzen, I wish I had seen your regret earlier. Chapter 337 Division of Power. The establishment of the elders is a cross-epoch for Konoha village, because its appearance marks that the days of Hokage dictatorship in Konoha village will be gone, but at the same time, it also marks the beginning of the power struggle in Konoha village. Previously, everything in Konoha village was under Hokage's control. Although there were some power struggles, everything was under Hokage's control. But now there is a group of elders that checks and balances Hokage, and Hokage will also join the power struggle in the future, because the group of elders and Hokage are mutually exclusive, and the power of the group of elders is greater, and the rights of Hokage will be reduced. Conversely, as the power of Hokage increases, the power of the elders will become smaller. So when the time comes, the two will surely compete for power. At the same time, the same is true within the elders. After all, there are only those rights. If you have more, others will have less. 3 days later, the rules of the elders group have been preliminarily determined. Although the elders want to check and balance Hokage, rights, but at the same time, they also want to help Hokage govern the village, so the elders have to intervene in many things. Finally, after deliberation, the 9 elders of the elders group each divided their work. Among them, Homura Mitokado and Kaharu Udatane became Hokage consultants. They accompany Sarutobi Hiruzen and give some advice when Sarutobi Hiruzen is dealing with various documents. In addition, Hyuga Wild Bear, as the new head of the Hyuga clan, will be responsible for communicating with the various ninja clans in the village. He is also a representative of the ninja clan. On the one hand, he informs the various clans about the policies formulated by Hokage and the elders. Feedback from these ninja families will also be given to the elders and Hokage. Don't think that this is just a job as a microphone, but it will greatly enhance the status of the Hyuga clan in the village, so Hyuga Wild Bear still likes this task. Next is the work of Anbu, which is also an important department of Konoha village. It has been managed by Hokage before, but now Anbu is divided into 2 parts. One part belongs to Hokage directly, and the other part belongs to the elders, which is managed by Yoshikawa Jiro. There are also Miyamura Harmony to manage together. Next is Naraju, who is in charge of intelligence management and analysis, and is also the think tank of Konoha village. Although it sounds like he has no actual rights, his status is very high. After all, everything needs to be discussed with Naraju. Next is Shimura Danzo, who is the most special. Everyone, where there is light in the world, there is darkness, so Konoha needs darkness. Many things are inconvenient for the village to do, such as removing some people who are unfavorable to the village, but this person can't grow up and kill them. At this time, they need to hide in the darkness in Konoha is shot, and I am willing to be the darkness of Konoha village. Quote. Oh, then Danzo doesn't know what you're going to do. Everyone present was very interested in what Danzo said. Everyone is no longer a child, and of course knows what the darkness Danzo is referring to. It's nothing more than that sometimes there will be some people who criticize Konoha village or speak ill of Konoha village in the land of fire. These people don't really hurt Konoha village, so Konoha village can't do anything to them, because there are many people who say such things. They are all officials of the Fire Nation. At this time, someone needs to kill these people with other identities. No matter what identity they are, at least they can't have anything to do with Konoha village, and now Danzo has offered to do this kind of thing. Everyone, I'm going to set up a special department in Anbu to deal with some dishonorable things. Hearing what Danzo said, everyone agreed after discussing it for a while. Because this kind of thing always has to be done by someone, but doing this kind of thing will undoubtedly damage the reputation, so everyone doesn't like to do it. Now that Danzo has taken the initiative, everyone will of course not object. Since it is specially responsible for these things, this department must be distinguished from other Anbu, just like the Dark Blade in charge of Tashinyao, so you can get a name. Sarutobi Hiruzen suggested. I've already thought about it, it's called the Root. If the village is a big tree, then I will be the root that never sees the light, guarding the village. Danzo's tone was extraordinarily solemn, which made everyone present with awe. Most of the people present were infected by Danzo's spirit of sacrifice, but Dong Shenyao was a little disdainful. In his opinion, Danzo may indeed love Konoha, but it is more of a yearning for power. In fact, Danzo is not as great as he himself said, everything is just power. But Tashinyao didn't say these words, because he still wanted to use Danzo to check and balance Sarutobi Hiruzen. If Danzo and Sarutobi Hiruzen don't deal with him, then he can become a pawn in Dong Shenyao's hand to check and balance Sarutobi Hiruzen, so that Sarutobi Hiruzen has no time to pay attention to him, so that Dong Shenyao can develop his power in secret and silently, and at the same time Dong Shenyao also use Danzo to get rid of some people who will affect his plans. After the Danzo matter was settled, the next one was Kai Uehara. It wasn't long before Uehara-chi reached the quasi-shadow. In terms of strength, he was at the bottom of the crowd, and his qualifications were relatively shallow, and his credit was not as good as that of others. It can be said that the reason why he was able to become an elder was to make up the numbers. Another point is the help of Dong Shenyao. Now to arrange the task of Kai Uehara. Everyone has a headache, because now most of the rights have been divided. Everyone really does not know what to arrange for Kai Uehara. Everyone, I think it's better. Now there is no prison in our village, we might as well build a prison and hand it over to Kai Uehara to manage it. In the end, it was Dong Shenyao who made a suggestion. Because of his status at this time, it is not easy for Dong Shenyao to continue calling Mr. Kai Uehara in such a public place. That's good, but who is this prison going to hold? Sarutobi Hiruzen asked. Naturally, some ninjas who make mistakes are imprisoned. Most ninjas do not die for their wrongful crimes, so these people can be imprisoned in prison and have different punishments according to the crimes they have committed. Once the punishment is over, they can be released. Come out. Dong Shenyao briefly explained the responsibilities of the prison. This is good. Well, it's pretty good. After everyone discussed it for a while, it was unanimously approved, and just like that, Uehara K became the warden. Although it seems that the warden doesn't have much power, don't forget that ninjas are also needed to take care of the prison. At that time, these ninjas will naturally be managed by Uehara Kai, so that Uehara Kai will also have military power in his hands. Chapter 338 Principal and Students. After discussing the rights distribution of Kai Uehara, everyone's attention fell on Dong Shenyao, because now everyone else in the elders group has been allocated certain rights, but Dong Shenyao, who is the first elder, has not yet. Although Dong Shenyao himself has a dark blade in his hand, this obviously does not match the identity of the great elder of Dong Shenyao. However, the rights that can be distributed have basically been distributed, and everyone really doesn't know what to give to Dong Shenyao. As for handing over some of the rights in their hands to Dong Shenyao, everyone obviously couldn't do it. What is this Dong Shenyao's idea? He even distributed the rights to others. What is he going to do? Is it like setting up a new department as he did to Kai Uehara? Just as everyone was guessing, Sarutobi Hiruzen said, East Shenyao, I don't know what you are going to manage. Well, I have already thought about it before, except that the dark blade remains unchanged. As the first elder, I naturally want to lead the elders, and at the same time supervise the other elders to see if they have done anything that violates the rules. After hearing Dong Shenyao's words, the expressions of several elders changed slightly. They did not expect that Dong Shenyao would do this, but what Dong Shenyao said was reasonable and they could not refute it. After all, if they refuted, they would ask, are you going to do something illegal? Otherwise why be afraid? This is not bad. Sarutobi Hiruzen was the first to agree, because in his opinion, Ta Shenyao was the same boat as him. With Ta Shenyao supervising the other elders, Sarutobi Hiruzen could also relax. Supervising other elders is only one point, and the other point is the ninja school. Dong Shenyao continued. Ninja school. Everyone was stunned when they heard the words, wondering why Dong Shenyao mentioned the ninja school again. Shenyao has already answered. The ninja school was established by the second generation of Lord Hokage, and has trained a large number of ninjas for our Konoha over the years, and it is precisely because of the existence of the ninja school that we can let's win the ninja world war, and the ninja school can be said to be a great contributor. Therefore, we must carry forward the ninja school, and only in this way can our Konoha village become stronger and stronger. In the past, the principle of the ninja school was held by the second generation Hokage, but now the second generation Hokage is dead, and the ninja school has been unsupervised. Develop the school well, so as not to let the second generation Hokage's efforts go to waste. What Dong Shenyao said was righteous and awe-inspiring, as if everything he did was for the sake of the village, and others thought the same. It's not that they are stupid, but because Dong Shenyao has always shown his love for the village, which directly blinded everyone and prevented them from discovering the true character of Dong Shenyao. Therefore, at this time, even Danzo, who was relatively dark, or Nara, who was thoughtful, didn't think about whether Ta Shenyao was the headmaster of the ninja school for other purposes. Originally, the principal of the ninja school should be held by Hokage, or Senju Tobarama was also the head of many departments in the original village. Although he is not in charge, the specific matters are handled by the second in command, but this also guarantees Senju Tobarama reigns supreme in the village. However, it is clear that Sarutobi Hiruzen is far inferior to Senju Tobarama in this regard. Not to mention the strength and qualifications of the two, but their courage and character alone make Sarutobi Hiruzen unable to hold the master who holds the rights of Konoha village firmly in himself like Senju Tobarama. Hence, Tashinyao's evaluation of Sarutobi Hiruzen is that the defense is more than enough, but the offensive is not enough. But now Tashinyao understands why Senju Tobarama let Sarutobi Hiruzen take over as Hokage. With Senju Tobarama's ingenuity, it was clearly expected that once he died, the situation in Konoha village would be very critical. At this time, the leader that Konoha village needed was someone like Sarutobi Hiruzen who was good at defense, not a tough guy like Shimura Danzo. Senju Tobarama is really powerful, but it's a pity that he died too early, otherwise the strength of Konoha village may be even stronger. Dong Shenyao thought to himself. Everyone, what do you think about Dong Shenyao's proposal? Sarutobi Hiruzen glanced at everyone and asked. I have no opinion. Uehara K was the first to say. I have no opinion either. Miyamura said in a harmonious voice. Anyway, he is in charge of Anbu, and there is no conflict with the ninja school, so he will naturally not object to Tashinya taking over the ninja school. Then everyone else agreed in turn. Seeing that there was no objection from everyone, Dong Shenyao sneered in his heart, but he also knew that the reason why he took the position of the headmaster of the genin school so easily was because the ninja school had been around for a relatively short time, although it was during the Ninja World War this time. The ninja school showed some usefulness, cultivating a large number of ninjas for the Konoha village. However, because the current Konoha village is still dominated by various ninja families, most people still do not pay attention to the ninja school, and do not understand the role of the principal, so they have no objection. Others do not understand the role of the principal, but as a transmigrator, Dong Shenyao is all too clear. If he becomes the principal, then all the ninjas who come out of the ninja school in the future can be said to be his students. With this connection, Dong Shenyao's status in Konoha village will be supreme in the future, and I am afraid that even Hokage will be inferior. Principal, hey, this position is really good. Can I come to some hidden rules in the future? Female teacher, and female students. Well, Dongshin 1.5 Yao is just YY. Seeing that everyone agreed, Sarutobi Hiruzen naturally would not object. Okay, from now on, ninja school will ask Dongshin Yao for you, and we must cultivate more talents for our Konoha village. Don't worry, Lord Hokage, I will do my best to do my job well. Tashinyao, don't call me Hokage-sama in the future, just call me Sarutobi. Sarutobi Hiruzen said deliberately with a stern face. It's Sarutobi. Tashinya didn't object. Well, now the general work of the elders group has been worked out, and now our village is in shambles, and I will ask you all next. Don't worry, Sarutobi, we will do our best to assist you and make the village stronger. Miyamura said in a loud and harmonious voice. Chapter 339 Cemetery Encounter. Everyone's work has been determined, and naturally they will not continue to stay. As Sarutobi Hiruzen just said, there is a lot of waste in the village now, because many people were killed in the battle before, and many jobs were stagnant, and now is the time when someone needs to take care of it. Miyamura Harmony and Yoshikawa Jiro went directly to Anbu. After Hyuga Wild Bear left the room, he was going to inform the various ninja families about the elders, and Uehara Kai started to build the prison. Sarutobi Hiruzen returned to the office with Homura Mitokado as a consultant, and for a while, Naraju and Tashinyao were left in the room. Nara, for a long time, you will be troubled by the affairs of the elders in the future. Although Nara has no specific tasks for a long time, his work is not easy, because he needs to adjust in the play. If anyone has any problems, he will also to help solve. Elder, I can only say do my best. Nara said helplessly for a long time. Naraju, you are a senior, but don't call me the great elder, just call me 15. Dong Shenyao knew that he was still young, so he didn't dare to be too rude. Alright then, I'll call you Dong Shenyao, you can come to my house and sit down if you have nothing to do in the future. Well, I will. After chatting for a while, Dong Shenyao also left. Since he became the principal, he naturally wanted to visit the school. Returning to the ninja school again, Dong Shenyao's identity has undergone earth-shaking changes. He was a student before, but now he has become the principal and the master of the school. I don't know how Yoshida-sensei would react if he found out that I became the principal. When Dong Shenyao came to the ninja school, it was when the students were in class. The school seemed very empty. After Dong Shenyao walked around the school, he finally found a few teachers. Who are you looking for? These teachers obviously didn't recognize Dong Shenyao. Hello, I'm Ta Shenyao. From today onwards, I'm a teacher at the ninja school. This is Hokage's appointment letter. Said, Ta Shenyao took out the appointment letter that Sarutobi Hiruzen had given him. Principal. These teachers widened their eyes one by one, obviously not expecting that Dong Shenyao, a young man who looked no more than a teenager, would become the principal. Although I felt that Dong Shenyao should not dare to deceive them, several people took the appointment letter and read it carefully, and finally confirmed that Dong Shenyao was indeed the new principal. Dong Shenyao, why does this name sound familiar? A teacher muttered. I also feel a little familiar. By the way, I remembered. Didn't our school have a student named Dong Shenyao a few years ago? He seems to have graduated early and became Chunin in the same year. After this person's reminder, several other people also remembered. After all, Dong Shenyao can be said to be the pride of the ninja school. Not to mention those old people, even the new teachers have heard of Dong Shenyao. This shouldn't be alone, that Dong Shenyao just graduated a few years ago. Although the voices of these people were not loud, Dong Shenyao still heard them. You are right, I am at Dong Shenyao. Ah, it's really you. Suddenly these teachers were shocked again. That's right, by the way, I wonder how Yoshida-sensei is doing now. Yoshida. Hearing Ta Shenyao mentioning Yoshida, the emotions of several people instantly sank. Yoshida went to the battlefield before and never came back. What? Dong Shenyao did not expect Yoshida to go to the front line, and he died in battle. Thinking of the decrease in the number of acquaintances around him, Dong Shenyao felt a little melancholy. Headmaster, I don't know what instructions you have. There are not enough people right now, so I will wait until the afternoon for the students to talk about it after school. Then you will inform the teachers. The students will gather here after school. I will have a good chat with you then, and I will not disturb you now. After speaking, Dong Shenyao turned and left. Goodbye, principal. Goodbye. After leaving the school, Dong Shenyao did not go home or go to the headquarters of the Dark Blade, but after buying some flowers, he went straight to the cemetery. He was going to see those acquaintances. Just after entering the cemetery, Dong Shenyao suddenly stopped because he saw a familiar figure not far ahead. That figure was standing in front of a grave. It's him. Looking at the conspicuous white hair, Dong Shenyao didn't expect to see this person here. At this time, this person was standing in front of the grave, looking a little absent-minded, so he did not find Dong Shenyao. Hey, Sakumo, Ta Shenyao shouted directly. The somewhat thin figure trembled slightly, then slowly turned around. It's you, Dong Shenyao. Hatake Sakumo's eyes first showed a hint of surprise when he saw Dong Shenyao, and then he felt a little lonely. He had heard about Dong Shenyao. The two were originally rivals, but now, the strength is getting worse and worse. Hatake Sakumo is a little desperate. He is very doubtful that he may not be able to catch up with Dong Shenyao in this life. How did you come here, Sakumo? Ta Shenyao asked after walking up to Hatake Sakumo. I came to see my father. Your father. Dong Shenyao glanced at the tombstone curiously. The words Hatakian were written on it. It was Hatake Sakumo's father. I still have some impressions of this Hatake Yan Dong Shenyao. It is a quasi-shadow of 703, but he has already died in battle. Sakumo, how are you doing these days? It's pretty safe. Hatake Sakumo laughed at himself. Because Hatake Sakumo was still young, he did not go to the battlefield, but he thought that Dong Xinyao, who was younger than himself, not only went to the battlefield, but also made great contributions and did so many great things, which made Hatake Sakumo a little inferior. Sakumo, you are my opponent, don't admit defeat. Dong Xinyao also saw Hatake Sakumo's depression, which was not what he wanted to see. Dong Xinyao didn't want to make the original work rampant because of himself. The Konoha White Fang of the world disappeared. Rival, Dong Xinyao, do you still think I'm your opponent? Hatake Sakumo looked at Dong Xinyao with a hint of anticipation in his eyes. Yes, you have always been an opponent in my heart. Although I am much stronger than you now, it is only because I have experienced more battles than you, so I have grown up so fast. I believe that with your talent, Sakumo, as long as you have time, you will surely catch up with me. Thank you, Ta Xinyao. How could Hatake Sakumo not know that Ta Xinyao was comforting himself? Although the two were rivals, they were also like friends. 5 Today. Chapter 340 Letter from Kazuhiko Hasegawa. Didn't talk much with Hatake Sakumo. After all, he didn't come to the cemetery to hang out. After reawakening Hatake Sakumo's fighting spirit, the two separated. Dong Xinyao first went to visit his parents, and after putting on some flowers, Dong Xinyao came to Yelin's tomb again. Yelin had been fighting against Sunagakur village on the front line before. As the war continued to escalate, the situation on the front line became more and more critical. Even Zuniang had fallen, not to mention that Yelin, who was only Jonin's strength, finally fought together, Yelin. Killed by Sunagakur. Of course, these things were only known to Dong Xinyao later. Uncle Yelin, I'm here to see you. Sunagakur village has been defeated by us, and you can rest in peace. After mourning Yelin and leaving some flowers, Dong Xinyao searched in the cemetery. Finally, Ta Xinyao found Yoshida's tomb in a corner. Mr. Yoshida, I didn't expect you to go to the battlefield. We haven't seen each other for a long time. I didn't expect to see each other again. I hope you can live a good life in the pure land of Elysium. Of course, don't forget. Find a woman who loves you. After visiting Yoshida, Ta Xinyao once again went to the grave of the dead ninja in the dark blade to mourn. In the afternoon, seeing that the ninja school should have ended, Ta Xinyao came to the school again. All the teachers at the school did not leave because they had been notified. Although they already knew in advance, when the teachers saw Dong Xinyao, they were still surprised by his youth. East Xinyao deserves to be a genius. He already possesses such strength at such a young age, and even becomes the principal. A teacher said enviously. Yeah, if Yoshida Zailing knew that he had taught such a student, he would be very happy too. There are not many teachers at the ninja school, there are only 12 people, there is no way. Due to the war, the Konoha village is seriously understaffed, so the school has fewer teachers. Everyone, I think most of you have heard of me, or even seen me, but I still have to formally introduce myself here. My name is Dong Xinyao, I am the chief elder of the Konoha elders now, and I will be the chief elder in the future. The headmaster of the ninja school. Welcome to Principal Dong Xinyao. I don't know who shouted, and then everyone applauded. Clap, clap, clap. The applause was very warm, and in the end, it was Dong Xinyao who opened his mouth to stop everyone. Everyone, although I am the principal, I have never done it before, so I am a little unfamiliar with this aspect, so I will trouble everyone to work hard for the school. The ninja school is the cornerstone of Konoha village, and it is also the ninja village. Hope, because it is our ninja school that has cultivated excellent ninjas for the village. Therefore, the mission of our ninja school is very important. Only by teaching these children well and cultivating more talents can our village become stronger and stronger. Let us work together in the future and strive for the future of Konoha village. Good. Come on together. The people who said Dong Shenyao's words were very excited. Very well, it seems that everyone loves the job of a teacher very much. Regarding the school's planning, because I am new here, I don't know much about many things, so I won't talk about it today until I get to know it thoroughly. After the school work, I will make a specific plan. We will work together in the future, so I will invite everyone to dinner today. Yeah, that's great. Principal, I love you. When they heard that Dong Shenyao wanted to treat guests, the crowd immediately cheered. Let's go. Dong Shenyao didn't hesitate. Seeing that it was getting late, he waved his hand and left with these teachers. This meal did not end until late at night. Many people were drunk. Dong Shenyao had no doubt that many of these people would be late tomorrow. Although Dong Shenyao is still young, far from the age of drinking, but today he didn't care about it, he just had a drink with everyone. As the new principal, many people asked him to drink, and Dong Shenyao never refused to come. However, due to the use of internal force to force the wine, although Dong Shenyao drank a lot of wine, he was not drunk. After returning home, Dong Shenyao didn't care about anything else, he just started to rest. After getting up early the next morning, Dong Shenyao went straight to the school after having breakfast. Now that he has become the principal, Dong Shenyao is ready to do something well, so as to be worthy of the title of his principal, and to make all the students remember him. As for the management of the school, Dong Shenyao has already made some plans, but after all, he has not understood it in detail, so Dong Shenyao did not directly state the plan, but prepared to observe it carefully and then make some modifications. 3 days later, Dong Shenyao also had a more detailed understanding of the ninja school, and just as he was about to formulate a more detailed plan, an unexpected person found him. You are Zheng Yan. After thinking for a while, Dong Shenyao recognized the man in front of him, the general who was with His Highness Hasegawa Kazuhiko in the Land of Fire. Your Excellency Dong Shenyao, I didn't expect you to remember me. Zheng Yan was very polite when we met again. Obviously he already knew Dong Shenyao's status in Konoha village at this time, which made Zheng Yan a little sigh. He didn't expect it was only a few years. No, the status of Dong Shenyao has undergone tremendous changes. From the original rising star of Konoha village, it has grown into the branch Jinchuriki column of Konoha village. General Zheng Yan, do you have anything to do with me? East God-kun, I was ordered by His Highness to deliver a letter to you. Saying that, Zheng Yan took out a letter and handed it to Dong Shenyao. Oh, you actually asked General Zheng Yan to deliver the letter yourself. It seems that this letter is very important. Dong Shenyao said in surprise after receiving the letter. I don't know what the letter said, but the situation in the country of fire is a little delicate now. Although what Zheng Yan said was unclear, Dong Shenyao had some guesses. It seems that my mission is about to be completed. Dong Shenyao did not forget that he still has a mission about Hasegawa Kazuhiko. After Dong Shenyao took out the letter and read it, his eyes became clear. Sure enough. Zheng Yan, please go back and tell His Highness that I already know about him, so he can rest assured that I will not forget the original agreement. I will go to the capital to see him in a few days. Well, since that's the case, I won't disturb Dongshin-kun, farewell. After saying that, Zheng Yan turned around and left.